Howdy, 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 and thank you all for joining me tonight. Tonight, we have a very special follow-up from our Monday night interview, and that was with Paul, Windy City Thetan Watch, and we are going to go over some points that we didn't get to into that one because, quite honestly, there's so much here. One live wasn't enough to take care of all of it. So tonight, we're going to get into it a little bit deeper. I put together a panel of folks for tonight's live stream. Of course, myself, Windy City Thetan Watch, and then I have two others that are going to be coming in, one of which is Joe Cool, quite a prominent person in the First Amendment community there as it pertains to dealing with law enforcement, and especially with his knowledge about the city of Chicago and the Chicago Police Department. I think he's going to be an invaluable asset to tonight's panel, and I'm honored to have him here along with Paul. Before we get started, we'll do everything like we always do. We're going to go ahead and say hi to a few folks, let others get in here because I know there were some other channels that were live. So howdy, Clearwater Chad, Selena, somebody named Windy City Thetan Watch is here. Mona, part of Mona Englert, part of the Twinsies, Fuzzy Pink Handcuffs. My awesome lead mod, Laura Waldy, is here. Make sure we're not okay. Make sure we got Lisa Robinson's in the house. Hey, Lisa, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for always being here. And let's get on down here. Make sure Anaphylaxis is in the house. Never in Nana is here. Welcome back. Thank you. And thank you for showing some support for Paul, Windy City. All right, folks. So tonight we're going to go in a little bit deeper into what was going on with Windy City Thetan Watch, as he was he was out there for the Lit Fest in Chicago this past weekend. And he had some very interesting happenings with both the Chicago Police Department and Scientology as we know it. They set up a display area out there. Actually, it looks like they had two of them. And they were basically trying not to call themselves Scientologists, even though they were out there handing out information, giving auditing, doing the testing and all that right there on the streets in LA. So without further ado, let's bring the person who was actually there. That would be Windy City Thetan Watch himself, Paul. Good evening, Paul. How are we doing tonight?
Hi, John. Doing great. Had a lot of activity today, and excited about tonight's forum. And great. I love the people that we're going to have on tonight.
Excellent, excellent. And I thought that, like I said, we have Joe Cool here. Joe is become somewhat of a legend in the First Amendment auditing community, has a huge YouTube channel, and he does a lot of really good stuff. I've been watching some of his content. I actually think he's pretty funny. I like the way he's handling it. And if you know what, the way I look at it is if you're a police officer, you're doing your job right, you're protecting the Constitution, somebody like Joe isn't going to be a bother to you. They're not going to be a problem at all because you're not going to be violating the constitutional rights. You're not going to be violating the law. You're not going to be giving people trouble. So do your job right, and you don't have to worry about these things. And without further ado, let's welcome Joe Cool, Chicago. How we doing, Joe?
What's up, bro? What's up, Paul? I don't even know your name, man. I can't. What's your name? John. Nice to meet you,
yes,
John.
Sir.
And you're right. Most of my videos, I'd say 19 out of 20, you won't see because the police are behaved, and even friendly and charismatic, and they get no problems out of me. The ones you see are the ones who act out. I would agree with you on that.
Well, to be honest with you, not only do I appreciate First Amendment auditors because they show the truth in what is happening, they show it in an unbiased lens for the most part. There's bad in everything, but for the most part, First Amendment auditors are just putting the truth out there. And so if you're doing your job, you shouldn't have a problem with that.
I go for one step further. I don't think you can make a good cop look bad. Right. Right. It's not a thing. If he acts out, let's say if I flip off a guy, if he reacts, he wasn't a good cop. A good cop is gonna, is not even gonna pay you a second so-and-so.
And that's how I look at it. And not only, to give you a little bit about myself, Joe, 32 years in law enforcement. I'm a retired chief of police. I've held pretty much every job there is in the departments I work in. But I'm also someone
That's
who is
all I'm gonna want to talk about, bro. That's all I'm gonna want to talk about.
But I'm also a police officer who's engaged in First Amendment auditing and protesting myself. So
that's impressive. I like seeing the video before the night's over, man.
Excellent. So to round this out, so we're not just getting my viewpoint on it. It's a personal friend of mine. He's a friend of the channel. He's been an awesome supporter of the SPTV community. He himself is a retired law enforcement officer. He comes from the West Coast. He is a retired LA County Sheriff's deputy. And like I said, good friend. And most of you all know him already. So please welcome our good friend, Sir Crepitus. How we doing, brother?
Good. How is everybody? Good to see everyone. Joe, good to meet you, sir. I've seen some of your videos.
Everybody's seen his videos.
Yes.
One of the problems is there's so many people have jumped into the First Amendment auditing. There's so many people jumped into all the different protesting that's going on. It's hard to keep up with it. We've got 200 channels right here in the SPTV community. How many do you have in the First Amendment auditing community? And it's hard to keep on track.
Holy hell, I can tell you, I've been there 5 years, and it was a lot less. Now,
oh yeah,
and back then it wasn't money, right? No one really, I don't think anyone was getting paid then. So everybody was either a lunatic or they're doing it for a heart, or you're more likely to find people doing it for the right reasons. Now, there's someone that's showed an avenue to get money at, it's been totally infiltrated, and there's more bad actors. I'm going off of Doom Shore. There's more bad actors out there than sincere cop watchers and auditors.
And we've had people like that have jumped into pretty much every community that there is. If they see a chance to make $1 off of it, they're going to do it.
I agree.
They just, it hurts the activities of those who are doing it for the right reasons. And it hurts the communities themselves. I mean, here in the anti-Scientology community, our focus is on the fact that we have a cult that has been targeting children. We have children who've been SA'd, and they have not only covered it up, they've removed the people that were the actual perpetrators, moved them out of country, move them to different places where they can't get extradited from, hide them away from the public, block off law enforcement from being able to know about it. Then we have I
didn't know that till Paul said it. I saw him on a video. I saw Paul saying I didn't know that. And he has another good argument about the kids who do the test for adults. That's another good argument too. Paul articulated those.
Putting them in way too adult of a situation. They're actually, which is basically like confession in the Catholic Church. They are
a kid.
Yeah. So they're making these children sit and listen to these untoward stories that these adults are being part of, and these are children who can't comprehend what they're actually listening to. Then you have the fact that they are going into countries like they're going into South America, they're going into Southeast Asia. They're promising people this better life that they're never going to have. They're going to get them to America. They're going to get them set up with everything. They get them to America, and they basically are human traffic them here to the United States, where they put them in almost slavery type conditions.
This might be a dumb question, if I could. Where do Scientologists live? Do they all live in buildings, or do they live in regular houses like other religions?
Well, Paul, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, so I'm going to say there's generally three basic elements of the process. So there's Sea Org, they're hardcore, and they live at the Los Angeles base and they live at the Florida base, and their feeding and housing are taken care of. They get a very small weekly stipend. Those are the true bloods. Then there's people called staff members. By the way, those Sea Orgs, that's the billion-year contract. And by the way, I'm roughly taking through this. Now, the next one is staff members. And staff members make either a 2.5 or a 5-year commitment, but they pay for their own housing, they pay for their own food, they make a stipend almost like commission. So they're only paid if the org does well. Right. And then the third kind of Scientologist is a pure public Scientologist, and they're the big whales where they just pay. They pay for the services, they pay for everything.
Right, I get you. Like a Tom Cruise now in that level.
Absolutely, correct.
And then they have their own schools that they send a lot of their children to, which are basically recruitment grounds. And you have
I bet none of that's on the internet. I'd love to see that shit, bro.
Oh, we put it out there all the time.
You seen it?
Yeah, oh yeah. There's actually a video of a young man, and I think he was 14 or 15 years old, proudly announcing how he has signed his billion-year contract and he is going off to work with the Sea Org, and how he's going out to save the world on the basis of Scientologist teachings.
Hoorah.
Yeah. So imagine you are someone who has dedicated your life to your religious beliefs. You're
I
working
am
for this
that guy.
church.
I'm not religious, but certainly to God and Jesus, I
Well,
dedicate my life. Yeah.
so think about it. If you joined a church and you're part of this church, you truly believe everything that's going on with that church. They put you somewhere across the country, across the planet, wherever they want to send you. And they literally put you in what would be considered just a standard size hotel room with bunk beds stacked 3 and 4 high, made out of 2x4s and plywood. And they have that entire room filled with anywhere from 8 to 12 people. And that's the living conditions you have.
We must be doing something very spectacular over there for me to put up with that shit. Are we really saving the world here? We better be doing something really interesting over there.
Lots of stories of those rooms being full of black mold and all kinds of other
probably
mildew
one place to shit, one place to shower.
Now think about this. You're in there, you realize you're supposed to be getting something like $47 to $50 a week. They're not paying you. They give you one change of clothes. You're responsible to pay for all of your necessities, your toothpaste, your soap, everything like that. You have to wash your clothes every night, let them dry overnight. You're working 16 to 20 hours a day. You have no free time for yourself or anything else. You have no connection to the internet. The only interactions you're having are with other people. If you try to leave the Sea Org under that $1 billion contract, they're going to come back and give you a bill that's called a freeloader's bill, even though they've used you as basically an indentured servant for the church. They're going to now come back and they're going to make you pay for any auditing, any other processes, things like that.
Wow.
And they're going to expect you to pay it. So
but what about, what's also interesting, you said some people can think 3 to 5 years or 2 to 5 year contracts.
Staffers,
can you really leave if you do that? Because I heard it's difficult to leave these cats. Can you really leave after 2 years and you be like,
those are much
fuck
harder.
y'all, I don't like y'all?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, the billion is actually not that you can get out of a $1 billion year contract very easily because it's on its face, it's stupid. But the 2.5 years, that we find that those are pretty enforceable, that you actually have to go for the 2.5 years. Now, if your question is, once I've done my 2.5 years, can I leave? There are plenty of people that do. They kind of say, I think I might go back to the public space because I'm not getting what I need out of this, being
They're seeing behind the curtain. They're seeing the Wizard of Oz in their time that they're working.
Those are the people y'all should be talking to.
Yeah. Now think about, you want to leave this religious organization and what they do to you for leaving. And Sir Crepitus, if you could fill them in a little bit more on that, because they have something called fair gaming, and Sir Crepitus has actually been a victim of the fair gaming. I have as well, but he had it 10 times worse than I ever had.
Say what the fair gaming is, because I know Paul, I think it was Paul who explained it to me. They could, if someone else explained it, I don't want to try and rephrase it.
Fair game. Go ahead, Bill. You want to explain that to him?
Yeah, so fair game is a policy that Hubbard made back, what was the early 60s, I think. Wasn't it, Paul?
50s or 60s, yeah.
Yeah, and it basically says that anybody who criticizes or who's deemed an enemy of Scientology can be harassed, lied to, destroyed. Destroyed can mean anything from killing. Sorry for using that word. It can be anything from unaliving to doing enough to this person to silence them.
And that's all falls under fair game.
Correct.
And that policy further states that the Scientologist who engages in fair game shall not be punished. So there's no consequences for their bad behavior if they get caught.
I mean, assume they even get praised for it if they're effective and really hurt a person and deter them. They go back and they're praised for it no matter what they did to pull it off.
It's part of their beliefs that you make a loud and discomfortable type protest against this person to make their lives as miserable as possible, and that's part of their doctrine. What kind of religion treats people like that?
What was your experience, Gown, about him? What was your Boda? You got a difficult name, and I can't zoom in on this StreamYard link for some reason. What was your experience with fair gaming?
Yeah, so back in 2008, I was protesting Scientology with Anonymous. Of course, I was active law enforcement at the time. However,
Holy hell.
all of my activity was done off duty. I was
I was
not
about
on
to
duty.
say you can do that even off duty. They
Yeah,
allow you.
no.
I mean, they should allow you to do it, but can you?
Being on duty, yeah, that would be a big no-no. But yeah,
Off duty is
so
okay.
Long story short, somebody who had a fellow protester who had a falling out with the Anonymous movement,
Yeah.
hacked the Anonymous server that was hosting the forums. Next thing I know, I got doxxed. And Scientology came after me. They had a PI watching me.
Jeez.
They came after my job. They actually used manufactured evidence to try to get me fired, and I had to fight for my job. I was under internal affairs investigation for about a year. I had to hire a lawyer. I had to fight for my job. It was a really, really crappy year.
and on top of it, his boss, the sheriff, was someone who supported Scientology and was closely connected to them.
Interesting. I bet that was unpleasant.
Yeah, it was very unpleasant. The sheriff himself really didn't mess with me, but Kendrick Moxon, who is one of the head attorneys for Scientology, he was the one that actually came after me with that complaint and the false evidence. But he was very persistent. He was calling our department constantly, and I guarantee you, he had Kendrick Moxon would have had a direct line to the sheriff. So I'm sure the sheriff may have had a hand in it behind the scenes. So
since you guys are ex-cops, it's legal here in Colorado. I'm token up, so I don't know if that's something you guys do over there.
Well, to give you an idea, it's legal here in Michigan as well. As a matter of fact, we have the lowest prices nationwide right now, and I quite enjoy my edibles myself. So I'm retired. There ain't nothing wrong with
as cops, I'm gonna do this. Please forgive me, but I'm a cop watching geek with two cops in a room. I gotta ask. I saw a guy on fucking YouTube standing by a sign. It was a dispensary. He said, I just got out after serving 30 years for weed. And he's taking a picture in front of a fucking dispensary. Don't they owe that dude some money or something? Right. Don't he get some compensation? Something. Damn.
Well, the problem with it is in a lot of these cases, and it's been upheld by the Supreme Court, when that person was arrested and convicted of that, it was illegal. It was a crime.
Yeah.
No
what do you
matter
think
how
of that, though? I want your personal fuck with the law. I know the law well. I study it like you do. You probably got me beat. But what about morally? They made a decision. We supposedly made a decision. Personally, I didn't care if he smoked weed the entire time. But we made a decision. It's illegal. We locked a man in jail for 30 years. We know now that was insane. We did a bad thing.
Well, let's think about the fact that they put marijuana on the same scale as the hardest narcotics there are.
Surely someone should go to jail at this. I don't care if it happened in 71 or whenever Nixon was in office. I don't care. Someone should go to jail today for that.
I think that that the governors themselves should be doing pardons for the people who are being held for marijuana crimes. I personally believe that myself.
You guys ain't gonna make that leap to penalizing people for it. They're like, I don't know, maybe I'm radical, man, but I think it's an immoral motherfucker that thinks it's okay to snatch some old lady out the car and beat her up because she didn't sign her ticket, tase her or whatever. All of this stuff seems really over the top for a traffic violation. You think you can chase people down the street and endanger lives? There's really a lot of crazy stuff going on.
One of the big problems I have with a lot of those things is if the officers would just de-escalate things, they wouldn't get to the point that they are. I've seen
time out there talking.
Yeah, right? I've seen cases where I do a lot of content like with the SOV citizens, and I do a lot of content where we show the police pursuits. And the thing is that you got someone who's doing 120. I've shown videos where they're doing 150 miles an hour running from the police. Yeah. You're putting everybody's life in danger.
6 or 7 more police cars. You made it 700 times more dangerous, bro.
Mhm.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, that's why you've got a lot of states are now they're using what is called the pit maneuver, where they make intentional contact, take the vehicle off the road. You have other areas where they will literally back off, and if they have air support, they'll follow the vehicle with a helicopter.
Chicago, same shit. They have a strict no chase policy unless it's someone's
Mhm.
actually in danger or something, where
Right.
this guy could hurt someone. Otherwise, they'll back off. Yeah.
A lot of departments are moving that way,
Yeah.
to avoid liability issues and
Right.
And that was
safeguard
always my
lives.
policy is even as chief of police with my own department, you do not engage in vehicle pursuits unless it is a high violent felony.
That's just an
Otherwise,
advisable.
someone runs from you, they're going to run from you. There's no sense in you putting everyone else's lives in danger just because of your own personal ego.
All right, we can get
It's
off.
that-
I'm sorry, I know I sidetracked us. We could talk
That's all
about
I'm getting a
Paul's.
I'm getting a master's class here.
This is an opportunity for me. I love this shit. I love
but also think about this. If it wasn't for the taser, if it wasn't for the pepper spray, think about how many officers out there that already are a problem as it is. Think about how quickly they would go hands-on
to the
on
gun.
people. Well, not necessarily the gun,
okay.
but they would go to the nightstick. They would go to other things that they had. The taser is, and
A
yes,
deterrent. Is that what you're saying? It's a bit of a deterrent, or
well, I think it's more of it's a less lethal, and it gives you the
Definitely.
ability to get someone under control in a lot of situations without having to actually physically harm them. So yes, nothing's perfect. There are instances where people have passed away after a taser's been used. There are people who've passed away after pepper spray's been used. You never know what a person's
that's why they
actual medical
used to
conditions
call them
are.
non-lethals, and they changed it to less than lethals because of the reason you're talking about now. People were
Right.
passing away from it, and I
Yeah.
would go to I'm on the other side. I don't believe that, because I don't believe you can harm someone, right? I'm a fan of God. I said that in the beginning.
Right.
And I think that is a big no-no. And I know I cannot, hurt about nobody, kill nobody. I can't break the 10 Commandments.
Right.
But for some reason, you can't as a person, but for some reason, when we call ourselves, we give permission to hurt people for the better good. Whatever cause we come up with, usually it's because they could have hurt someone. We actually hurt someone because he could have hurt someone. The whole thing has to be readjusted, in my opinion.
Well,
we are becoming people who hurt people.
You also have to look at it from the standpoint of I have to take someone into custody. This person is already in a very agitated state. There's going to be a fight. There's a chance that we're going to have to use physical force on this person. And believe me, I'm one of those people. I hate touching other people. I do not like that. I don't like people being in my personal space, and I don't like going hands-on people. But the fact is that as a police officer, you're going to have to go there.
Sometimes
and that's how it is. And Bill can attest to that. It doesn't matter how good a person you are, how nice a person you are, you're going to have to go hands-on at some point after you put that badge on.
Yeah.
Oh, I got another question for you cats.
Okay.
Now, because you cats seem very reasonable, very logical, very fucking normal people. Right?
There is no such thing as normal.
I'm even impressed. Are you able, I guess you're doing it now. I was going to say, are you able to get any newfound ideas, beliefs, or knowledge or wisdom that come along with, being away from it for so long? Are you able to put any impact back or say we could have done this better or we could have done that better?
Bill, you want to start that one?
Yeah, well, actually, I went through my whole career, asking myself, could I have done something better, or could I have done something different?
Very good.
I found out early on that just simply learning how to speak to people and treat people with respect and dignity goes a long way. But there's always those people out there you just can't reason with, right?
Yes.
So I went through 34 years. I've never had to take a life, dude. I'm so thankful for that. I never had to take a life, and a lot of it had to do with just learning how to talk to people and just being smart. But
I'm in Chicago on the west side. I walk up on a cop, and he talking to the kids in my neighborhood about how many bodies he got. I was
You
like,
shouldn't be
did
doing
I
that.
hear you right? Are you bragging on how many bodies you have?
yeah, that's
You know,
terrible.
Like they
That's
were all
ridiculous.
justified.
That's
Yes.
that's ridiculous. You know, when I would have to do the talks at schools, and it always happens, no matter where you go, every school you go to, there's always that one kid who says, "Did you ever have to shoot anybody? Did you ever have to
Of course,
unalive somebody?" And my answer was
right.
always the same. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter what the reasoning was for it. Loss of life is a loss to the world. It's never right. It
I'm not.
never will feel right.
I'm not. I love
Right.
it. I
So,
love it.
but
Right.
the thing is, and as Bill was talking about, the officers that we were when we first started as probationary or rookie officers is a completely different person than the officers we were when we retired. Because as you go
Very
along,
good.
you learn. Law enforcement's like, I attest it to like being a plumber or electrician. You go through a very basic schooling to begin with to get your foot in the door, and the rest of it is learning on the job as you go. And it all falls down to, do you have good senior officers that are training you and training you the right
Yeah.
way,
Yes.
or do you have officers who should never be police officers in the first place? And
Can I say why
go ahead.
why that's so important that you say that the people above you are good police officers? I'm going to say good, even in a sense of moral, because that's my big complaint with police officers is that I don't give a fuck how moral you are. You delegate from 9 to 5. You delegate your morals to someone else. You
Right.
assume that senator or that judge got it right. So your morals don't matter when you're a cop. You better have someone over you who has morals, or someone over him who's taught morals.
Well, your
That's
morals do
yeah.
your morals do
I guess to
have an
some extent.
importance in
Maybe
it.
I shouldn't say
When
shouldn't
when I,
matter. Yeah.
when I'm, a good example is I'm at the local grocery in the town where I spent most of my time. There's
Yeah.
a woman there with 2, 3, 4 children, doesn't have enough money to pay for the food that she's getting. My morals
Yeah.
step in and I pay for the remainder of what's needed for that, so that
Yes.
those children have food in their bellies. And
Yes.
then I also follow up and make sure over the next month or two that they are still getting what they need. That's where your morals come in. Your morals come in when
Yeah,
you
but
go
9 to
someplace and you
5 though. 9 to 5 is what I was saying. From 9 to 5, you delegate your morals to someone else at your
well,
job.
I probably my best answer for that is something that I've said several times before. At one point, after I had become a full-time police officer, I came home, my wife and I were talking, and she says, "Listen, when you come through that door, you're not Officer Poe. You're my husband, John Poe. Officer Poe stays outside that door." I started thinking about that, and I took it very seriously. And so there's the old saying that the badge doesn't make the man makes the
Yes,
badge. And
I dig
that's how I took it from that point forward.
it. You should.
It was no
That's
longer
hood
Officer
shit, bro.
Poe, it was John Poe, the police officer, and I conformed who I was as a police officer to match my morals and the person that I was,
Very
instead of
good.
worrying about being that cop. So
I'll tell you
It's such
this
a
too. I
shame that
believe in
that's out.
signs and
That's
symbols.
sorry.
yeah.
It's
No,
such a shame that that's
no, that was it.
exceptional.
Okay.
It's that why isn't that the normal behavior? Like, how come that is not the default behavior?
Heavy.
Well,
Why is
Heavy,
why are
look,
we
bro.
think about
proud
it
of
this
you?
way.
And by the way, I am proud of you. But why are we proud of people who are reasonable, right?
Well, think about it. For the longest time, and Bill can attest to this. For the longest time, if you were a police officer and you sought counseling, you sought psychiatric help, you pretty
You're
much
soft.
blackballed your career.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it wasn't until in the last few years that that's become something that you aren't looked down upon for it. Before that, you were
Yeah.
supposed to be the big, strong, macho man who could handle anything, didn't take no crap from nobody. And that's how it was supposed to be. I came up in the era when Detroit still had what was called the Big Four, where they would take the four biggest pipe benders they had on a shift, put them in plain clothes in an unmarked car, and literally show up at a scene and just go out clubbing and just start arresting everybody they can get their hands on. Those days are gone. Those things have changed. Law enforcement is moldable just like anything else in the world. It's breaking the stereotypes and the attitudes that the older generation was holding us to. Once officers started saying, no, I'm not putting up with that anymore, I'm not doing this. I had an officer who had 5 years on me on the job, was a rank higher than me. And I told him, you don't ever touch my prisoners. You certainly don't ever put your hands on them like that. And
you're taking a risk with that, right? Going against your superiors and shit. You're taking a risk doing that as a cop.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get myself put in jail. I'm not getting myself put in jail for that person. And I'm certainly not getting myself sued because they don't know how to handle themselves. And that's important to me. So, all right, let's start talking about what happened to Paul here, because we're going to keep going on this all night. And Joe, you're going to have to come back, and we're going to have some real heart on these things. So
this is going to be a 47-part series.
This is fun for me. This is great. Yeah, I appreciate you indulging me.
I love breaking stereotypes.
Two cops, man. Two cops. So. I told I was seeing one cop. I was excited. Two cops.
Well, I'm glad that we can surprise Joe Cool. All right, so Paul, when we were talking the other night, you were dealing with Officer Otten from the Chicago Police Department.
The female.
Correct.
Yeah. The officer
threatening you.
She has an interesting disciplinary history, whereas she was departmentally disciplined for discharging her firearm while putting her gun belt on in roll call.
She did a real desk pop. Please tell me I saw the movie.
You know, there's only one way you can accidentally discharge a firearm, and that's if your finger's on the trigger. So
yeah,
I don't understand. I mean, was she trying to put her gun in the holster? Otherwise, I don't understand how she could have.
When I saw the write-up on that, and it says that she was attempting to put on her duty belt when she unintentionally discharged her firearm, I'm like, how? Because I've literally been at the gun range, and we've taken, weapons that were taken out of service. They are past their useful time. We've literally taken them and thrown them on the ground without ammunition on them, but had them cocked so that the hammer was ready to go.
Yeah.
Thrown them on the ground, thrown them down the gun range, dropped them off buildings, ran them over with cars, and not a single time did they discharge.
Right.
So the only way that happens is this.
They go on the trigger.
Yep.
So
tell me y'all know what a desk pop is. Someone in chat, if they don't know, tell them what a desk pop is. It is the funniest shit in the world, man.
What is that?
Never heard of it.
Yeah,
it's
I've never
from
heard
a
of
movie with the Rock and Samuel Jackson. The other guys is the name of the movie, Marky Mark, and that comedian, I can't think of his name. But they trick him on his first day in the job and tell him, yeah, man, just shoot your pistol off in the office, man. Everybody does it. You got to do it your first time. It's called a desk pop.
Gosh.
And they like, you for real? You for real? And he do it, and he get chewed the fuck out. It's a great fucking movie. And like, he did a desk pop. When I
was a rookie, I saw a sergeant who was playing around and actually put a round through the ceiling behind the desk, and our lieutenant walked over and knocked him out.
No doubt.
All right. Yeah, that ain't played. We have a range for a reason. I had an officer that actually was in a foot pursuit, pulled his firearm out, and discharged a round in the air. And
like you see in the movies, pow pows, don't move. Yeah. He did one of those.
All that did was make the guy run even faster and start zigzagging. But that officer ended up getting some time off and was on probation for quite a while and had to go back through firearms training.
That's fair
because of
though, man. I wish they would do that when officers. I wish they would penalize them way, way, way more. I'm not talking about losing jobs. I don't want the threat of them losing their jobs, but they got has to be some price they pay when from everything small, disrespectful to the public, lying on a report, backing your friend on bullshit. There has to be a real price. It can't be, oh, I talked to him in a back room. It has to be visible to discourage other cops from doing it.
Well, there's a reason why we take an oath when we become officers. You attest to the fact that you will meet the conditions of that oath as an officer. My thoughts on it are everybody makes mistakes, everybody gets disciplined, but there are certain things that are over the line. And if you can't stay within the rules on that, then you don't deserve to have that badge.
Yes.
And
those lines get fuzzy. I'm doing a video on it now where this guy, his name, if it come to me, it come to me. Anyway, this guy, I can't think of his name. But he's getting this lady for trespassing. Boris Sadi is his name. And he slams, it's kind of famous, you might have heard of it, in the parking lot. Him and his white cat, they have to take her down so you don't want to leave on a trespass. The white guy grabs her arm, holds it behind the back. Black dude starts punching her, slam her on the ground, right? Wow. Jump on her back, starts slamming her face into the pavement. Then when they get back to the Sally Port, she walks over. He said, I told you to get back over against the wall. He pushes her against the wall. She kicks at him. She's cuffed at this point, and he starts beating her, drilling her till she drops down. What's interesting about this is that out of all of that violence, including the slamming her head and all of that, they only found problem with when he hit her, when she was cuffed. That's amazing to me how blurry the line got. It's scary.
Yes. Well, what a lot of people don't know is even if you're cuffed, you can still be dangerous. I've seen officers get headbutted, get their nose blown out, get teeth knocked out. I've seen officers have someone bite them, end up having to go to the hospital, have to get a whole bunch of shots, have to get themselves sewn back together. That happens
often, in fact, that biting shit, especially with women. I don't want to be that guy, but women will bite your ass.
Yeah. Did you hear about, and Fat Grammy's got a good question here. Did you hear about the protester that got arrested because her mammary glands grazed someone?
I was looking for the video, to be honest with you. I think someone showed me the video. I couldn't see it.
I'll get it over to you.
I thought that was incredible. It showed the power of what those Scientologists could do, the power that they have on the cops, which is why I had to give Paul's argument that they might come after him more weight, because seeing that they came after her on some phantom bullshit and they had the power to get those cops to do it, something to keep in mind.
Well, Chicago PD's got a lot of problems, lots and lots of corruption over there. So,
absolutely.
It's the same thing with LAPD. Yeah.
Paul, how about the fact, what was the sergeant's name who came out and literally took a bucket of water and was washing the sidewalk chalk?
Sergeant Dolan. Sergeant Dolan.
I mean, you're talking about, not only did they arrest a protester because some guy said that one of her breasts brushed him, but a sergeant actually went into the Scientology building, got a bucket of water, and came out and threw it over the chalk art that was on the ground.
What type of power do they have over these police officers?
Yeah, well, this guy's a piece of work. This Dolan, I've had 4 interactions with him. He will not identify to me. And when I finally corner him and I'll walk over to a squad car and I won't let him leave, officer, I need your name and I need your number. And he goes, but you know it. I said, that's not the problem here. I asked you a question. You have to answer the question. Well, why do you want to know it? Because I'm a citizen and I need to know what's going on the street here, and I need to identify you so that I can create the report, right? And you can't, just because you think I know your name doesn't give you a pass on not.
Rule 37 of their policy, they must identify on or off duty.
Yeah.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I've got the rules and regulations pulled up right now.
So he went and got the water. He won't identify. There's been a couple of times. So you'll see that one time, not only did he did he dump water on it. And Never in Nana's in the chat. Never in Nana had put some signs on the sidewalk. So because they would nail us for, you can't attach things to city property. You can't attach things to trees. So we would just lay these signs on the street. He picked up all the signs. He didn't make us pick. He picked up all the signs and handed them back. So again, just in the servitude of Scientology, it seems like.
Servitude, yeah.
Well, you know, interfering with one's First Amendment rights is actually a federal offense. They need to start prosecuting that, apparently.
Title 18, Section 241 and 242 for police in particular, yeah.
Well,
All
what
right,
they
Joe.
need is what happened here in Detroit. They need the Department of Justice to come in here, and they need the Department of Justice to babysit on them for a while and start making them follow the law.
That's the problem, right? They've come into Chicago. We on our half a dozen justice decree at this point, and they haven't honored anything, and they've all been scathing. And the changes that they said they had to make, and they don't honor any of them. They come in and make a new one. They appear to be toothless as well.
Yeah.
Wow, it says they have 11,900 police officers in the Chicago Police Department.
That's not counting the extras. Or closer to 14 when you count the extra people fucking working with them.
Yeah, that's let's see here. Yeah, it's not. This is just police officers. It's not counting civilian employees or administrative staff or anything like that. But that's a huge department. Detroit, I think, has 3,500 police officers. So it's there's a big difference there. But they literally came in. We have what's called the 4th precinct here in Detroit, where it's the southeast precinct of the department. And literally the DOJ came in, put their own office in, and started reviewing everything that came out of there. Maybe if Chicago started getting this, they would start seeing.
Well, he bring his office. He put his office in the building. That's how you.
Oh yeah,
down.
yeah. That's how they do it. They come right in. They park right in your parking space, and they tell you if you don't like it, bye. Kick rocks, hon. So. Yeah,
that's
don't
great.
play.
I would love to do a video on that shit.
Yeah. So, but one of the problems we had with Detroit was they went into this hiring mode where they hired in hundreds of officers at one time. They completely flooded the state's licensing process, so the state couldn't do all the background checks. A year or two later, the state finally starts catching up with everything, and they're like, "Hey, you hired a bunch of people that are convicted felons to be police officers."
It was intentionally? Did they bunch them together intentionally, you think?
Well, they didn't do the proper backgrounds on them. If they had done that, then they would have known that that these people couldn't not only not own firearms or possess firearms or be around them, they sure as heck couldn't be police officers. They can't even be security guards.
Yeah,
but they hired them in.
What I was doing, I'm sorry if someone has a question. What was the code? About obstructing the First Amendment. I was depriving you of your First Amendment right. Title X 18, Section 241 and 242. One is a single officer trying to deprive you. 242 is a conspiracy with multiple officers trying to deprive you of that right.
Paul, you got something else to add to that little presentation you had there?
I agree.
All right. So are you loaded up on that video on where we want to start at?
Yeah, let me wait. Not that. So that one, I'm just showing you a picture of Dolan, and this is one of the examples of this was, he was out. They had 7 cops out there on Memorial Day because I was writing on chalk on the sidewalk. So there were 7, and there were 2 white shirts. So he's not the officer in charge on site. Sergeant McCarsky is the officer in charge. He's just a guy here, jolly guy, lollygagging around.
Yeah.
Right.
He looks so pleasant. He looks.
They
like,
always do, bro.
Let's go grab a beer there, sir.
Yeah.
It's a little grumpy.
It was a grumpy.
Let me. All right, let me get back over here.
All right. So this is our friend Officer Otten, the one who can't put their duty weapon in their belt without discharging it. So.
Right.
Now, where are we at in this contact point? Is this where they are initially walking over there before Officer, I think was it Maldonado or something like that, decides they're going to block you off?
Yeah, this is the earliest. So just barely over her shoulder, her left shoulder, you can see the cops against the wall, right?
Yeah.
And one of those. And by the way, that wasn't Maldonado. That was the one that was blocked. Maldonado was from the day before. This one was Velasquez.
Velasquez. Okay, yeah, that's who. Okay, Maldonado. I remember that was the female who looked like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Whoa.
It is. It is.
Nice.
See, she doesn't understand that there's no expectation of privacy in public.
I don't know what's going on.
Uh-huh.
But,
Well,
So there's a cop on my shoulder right now, Velasquez, and that's who I'm talking with while this officer's trying to run away from me.
do you agree with what I just said? Is there an expectation of privacy in public?
no, there isn't.
Okay, good. But
She's
you're going to play
blocking
defense.
you,
You're going to play
though.
defense?
No, but just that, you're making me a little nervous. Just give me
How
some
am I making you
space.
nervous?
You're
You
pushing.
with a gun
She doesn't
are
want-
nervous of me?
She doesn't want to be approached.
Then she shouldn't be in public.
No, that's not how it works.
Yes, it is how it
She
works.
told you don't go near her.
No,
Don't go near
she
her.
has no right to tell me where to be in public.
Okay, but I'm telling
Have
you.
I committed a crime?
No, you
Am I
haven't.
being detained?
Why are you getting
You're
upset?
killing.
I'm not being.
Paul.
I'm
You're
asking questions.
natural.
No, you did nothing
Oh,
wrong.
look at you body check. Look at you body check. See, now how hard was that?
Okay,
You're
pause
so
that right
trainable.
there. Rule number 9, engaging in any unjustified verbal or physical altercation with any person while on duty. She just body checked you, didn't she?
No contact, but
No contact.
she did not
Okay.
allow me. She prohibited me from moving forward. So she stepped in front of my path.
Yeah. Which,
So
if you're going to be a
as this is going, I'm
constitutionalist-
looking through the rules and regulations here. So
If you're a constitutionalist and you swore an oath to it, just stopping someone's progress, you would have to have probable cause that they did something wrong and all of that shit.
Now,
There's really
Joe
only-
had said something yesterday, or sorry, John said something to me yesterday, Sunday, that they could have thrown the flag that says I'm obstructing their investigation, but they never said that. They basically just said go away, right? So no real reason why.
They can't do that anyway. Obstruction, mostly it's a physical act. It does have 2 other elements in some states. The other 2 elements are coming in between a police and a subject, which you did not do, and threatening the police, which you did not do. There's no obstruction with no hold.
well, here's where, and that's why it's every state's different about it, and I'll have Bill chime in on this. But here in Michigan, if I'm performing an investigation and someone is directly, whether they're doing it physically or they're doing it verbally, or it's their refusal to give me, like if I'm interviewing a victim of a domestic violence,
Yeah.
and I am trying to talk to this person, but the person who is the actual perpetrator keeps trying to force themselves into the conversation,
No.
trying to talk over the victim, things like that. That's obstruction, and that can happen in many different things. But what you have to do
no
is you have,
verbal obstruction.
here in Michigan, that would be construed as obstruction of justice. You are stopping the officer from being able to actually perform their duty.
No. They got case law where the guy intentionally yelled to his friend and I'm a cop watch. I should know the damn case law, and and it was ruled that verbal alone cannot be obstruction. And the caveat there is making threats. And I bet you if we could.
Well,
pull up-
that's gonna fall under the particular state laws, because the
I
way
mean,
it's
I
written
think
here
I've
in
studied them
Michigan-
all. I've been traveling in this
Yeah.
country for 4 years, and every state I have to learn, and I'm really good at this. And this one, I stand firm. I bet you I'm right. It's just
can
my
tell you-
opinion.
I can tell you this: we've had the cases go all the way up to. I've had cases go all the way up to the state Supreme Court on obstruction, and the state Supreme Court has upheld the.
You won't
the,
find
the
one verbal
conviction.
case. You won't find one.
That's
verbal.
what it was. I
You
had an
won't
actual.
find one. Give me the case number, damn it. You
I
won't
got to go
find
back
one,
and find it
'cause
for you, but yeah,
I need you to, because
Yeah.
I'd had to tell all my friends. They all believe the same thing that I believe here, and we all think we're experts on this shit. You would break the internet with that shit.
Well, here's the fact on it. You don't have to physically involve yourself. You can do it verbally. If you are taking someone who is giving an actual statement to an officer that can lead to the arrest of someone for violation of law, and the officer is investigating that charge, and you stop them from being able to do that,
By
That falls
yelling, by
under
doing
obstruction.
what? How do I stop them? I'm across the street yelling, calling them names. How did I really stop them, though?
Well,
That's
Would you
the
threaten
part
or
where you
intimidate
have
the
a
other
problem.
the other
Like
party?
the case
So
I gave you, where
Yeah.
I'm talking to a victim of domestic violence, and the person who is the perpetrator, the person who committed the act,
Yes.
is jumping in and talking over top of that person, trying to out-talk them, trying to stop them from being able to give me an accurate description of what happened. That's considered obstruction of justice.
Maybe you
Bill, how about in
have an
California?
argument if he's he's
Detainment.
detained with
Yep.
the people. Maybe you have an argument, but the guy
Well,
on the street, he's good. He's in the
but
clear.
see, the
He could yell
basis
all
on
day.
it is you also have to advise them of it. You can't just because they're doing it. The way it works is they keep doing it. You tell them, look, I need to talk to this person. I need to hear from them directly. You are obstructing my ability to investigate this crime
Yeah.
properly. If you do not stop, you can be placed under arrest.
Again, the
for obstruction.
detained dude, you may have an argument. The guy on the street corner that's filming it, me or some guy out there, some drunk or some bum, you have no argument.
That's a different kind of situation. If they're just out there and they're just yelling in public, they're just yelling in public. But I'm talking about someone who is actively trying.
You have an argument, I think.
There's someone who's actually trying to coerce the situation, whether it be trying to get someone not to talk, whether it's trying to force someone to say something that they may not want to say while the officer is trying to investigate the crime. That falls under the obstruction. Bill, how is it in California for that?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same way. And an example I can give is, we had an assault in a very large park in our city one day, and we had no ability to get our radio cars up into the park. So, we had to park our cars. We had to walk in. There were no buildings nearby. We're trying to interview. Actually, I was trying to interview the victim, and one of my partners was trying to talk to the alleged suspect. And the suspects kept getting close, and he kept saying, "I have a right to hear what's going on." And well, the victim was like, "I'm not going to talk to you out, in front of this guy." Yeah, they gave me a slew of reasons. And sometimes victims they'll clam up because they're afraid to talk in front of this other person. But what's important is for the officer or the deputy to advise the person, "Hey, you need to back off." And this is why, because you're hindering my ability to talk to this alleged victim, and if you don't back off, you're going to be detained in the backseat of a radio car. You're going to go to jail.
I think if he's detained, if you can tell him to stand at a certain place and you can't under detainment, you have an argument. Just you can tell him to shut the fuck up. Yeah.
Well, it's even if the person that's hindering my ability to interview this other person,
Bill,
even if they're not saying anything, their close proximity, being able to overhear everything, is causing my victim to
you are wrong. You are wrong. That's not their responsibility. That is yours. No, it's not an issue in public. That is your responsibility.
We've arrested people for stuff like that in the past, and it's stuck every time.
Yeah.
Now it has nothing to do with First Amendment auditors. If you're off at a distance, it's not an issue. It's that close proximity, and this person I'm trying to interview is feeling intimidated. Now they don't want to talk.
That's not a thing. How they
means that person is hindering my ability to conduct this interview, which is part of my duties.
That should never hold
Bill,
up in
check your
court.
private message also, please.
I'm going to send you two to your bedroom soon.
All right, let's Bill, check the private messages, and it's not in mine, so I can't do anything about it. But
Gotcha.
it's either in either one of yours.
Yeah, I don't have it on mine either.
I'll check. Fuzzy, check the chat, please.
So, all right. So basically, you have these two officers here are running block for Officer Otten here.
Correct.
And now, what's the name of is that Officer Tam, I believe the name is?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out what it is with him showing up in there like he did.
Yeah, I would say that
We already know what the other officer's doing.
Right.
Definitely running block.
you had kind of mentioned that, hey, he was that, and soon he's going to look to the side, kind of ignore me, or he's going to just talk aloud, not really directly at me. This was the first time that I really saw him oppose me. I don't know if that's the right term, but up until this point, because he's the one that I got to say, have you seen me do anything illegal today? Have you seen me do anything threatening today? And he said, no, I haven't.
Very good.
And so I've got that on tape, and it's like, hey, can you tell the other officer who's trying to make a federal case here what's going on?
Why not?
Yeah.
But so that's kind of what's happened here. They're definitely closing ranks, and now I've decided I'm going to stay away. But this
Is
might.
this Paul where she does the eavesdropping and she's like, "You want?" Is this that part?
It's later, so that's a little bit later.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that's about to happen here, and I know more information about this than before. I'm about to get blocked by a civilian as well. And this civilian is most likely an agent of Scientology because he's been sitting at the other, we know there's 2 tables that set up for this.
Yeah.
And there's these 2 guys that have been sitting at that table. And I will say that they also tried to follow and intimidate some of the other protesters later on that day. But you're going to see, I'm
I
pretty sure
understand
he's
that.
going to walk through here.
Have you seen me do any hateful speech today?
Listen, can I just say something? We don't know what's going on.
Uh-huh.
You're recording. That's
then find the fuck out.
We're just here for the book fair, making sure nobody gets hurt.
Agreed. Yep.
That's our job is to make sure nothing escalates.
Awesome.
We don't know what's going on, but this is a safety thing. That's all.
Let's see if I can get up to the
Right
guy.
to tell about their religion. I have a First Amendment right to talk.
So this is me
They
just
have a
saying,
First
well,
Amendment right to tell about their religion. I have a First Amendment right to talk about that religion.
I have a quick question. When you pause.
Yeah. Pause. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Paul, was this guy alleging some kind of violation that you committed? Is that what she was investigating, or was it something different?
So I
think
still
it
don't.
was.
Yeah, I still don't know. Here's what
Okay.
happened when she first engages him on the opposite side of the Scientology table from me. She points at me and she points at a couple of other protesters, and then he nods. So it feels like they're. And when I went over and talked to her, she said, why are you over here? And I said, well, I can tell you're talking about me. I go, I wasn't talking about you at all. I said, is this person with him or with you? And I said, well, that is talking about me. You just said you're referring to me.
Right.
So I'm going to say that at the end of the day, I think the original allegation was that they didn't like that we were protesting against them. And this was the first officer that didn't tell them it's their
They're
First
doing
Amendment
nothing wrong.
right.
Right.
This was the first one that said, well, let me see what I can do here. Let me see if I can intervene or interject myself in this situation. We are going to hear a couple of threats that she's going to make a couple of statements like stalking and like harassment in this process. Eavesdropping is one of the other ones who saw. And I didn't even really think about it, but when the officer Velasquez, when she says that I'm, darn it, the thing that we were just fighting about, and I wasn't fighting, you two were fighting.
Obstructing.
That
Debating.
when she threatens me with obstruction, well, isn't that another threat against me? They're continuing to
Do we
chill.
agree right now that Paul is not obstructing, has not come close to obstructing? Do we all agree with that?
I agree with it because there's been no declaration on the part of Otten or any of the other officers. As a matter of fact, Yolandes actually said, "No, you're not detained. No, we haven't seen you commit any crimes." So at that point, there's no reasonable expectation that he's under investigation.
Right.
The fact is that if that were the case, then Officer Otten needed to advise him, I am investigating something. You need to give me space so I can speak to this person and get their statement from them.
Yep.
Bill?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, she never did that. I had the opportunity to watch the footage beforehand. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I agree that she handled herself very poorly. She was very unprofessional. So
Paul,
just wanted to know where I stand, at least.
I'm going to advise Paul, if one of them officers tell you, listen, I'm trying to talk to this person, you're obstructing because you can hear the conversation, or your conversation, what you're saying is too loud, I am going to advise you to stand your ground on that shit.
Yep.
So you are not obstructing a damn thing.
You were handling it good, Paul. I will say you were handling it fine.
And I will say that I wasn't even going to put. There was no way in the world that I was going to push into the inner circle
Yes.
in any way to make contact with. But I was saying, hey, I'm going to see if I can walk around this element. And how determined are you to keep walking in front of me so that I can't penetrate this element? I'm not going to be stupid enough to make contact with an officer, but I wanted to see how far are you pushing this, ma'am?
See, this is why I titled this episode "Is Chicago PD Colluding with Scientology?" Because Officer Otten and the two other officers that are there are doing everything that they can to give Otten safe space to deal with this person from Scientology.
I hear you,
and as you see further into it, when she starts guiding him, she is completely stepping out of her area of ability, and she is doing what I consider, I don't know how it would be in Illinois, but here in Michigan, that could possibly fall into the realm of a criminal act, whereas you're coaching someone on how to file a complaint and make that complaint work.
I like it.
Not do that.
At first, she seems like she at least has an argument that she's on a reasonable footing. We're just trying to separate and give her some space to talk to this person.
Check that out again, please.
Yeah, go ahead and make that more permanent, JBat. Thanks.
Yeah, I was just saying that she had a leg to stand on at first, and then it became obvious that or at least apparent that she was working with the other guys, the Scientologists.
Yeah, it's very clear. She is, as I said, when she gets further into this, and she's actually saying, if you say it this way, if you say it that way, that is not your job as a law enforcement officer. All right. If he tells me, well, he's standing over there and he's saying I'm a Scientologist and I don't appreciate that. Well, I'm sorry, but your feelings being hurt about it aren't a violation of the law.
Just say that and, cut everybody's day short. You do not be like, well, if you rephrased it and if you really feel offended and if you can get two friends, now you're overdoing it.
I think it's a matter of trying to find a way to construct it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
And that's what I really felt, that she is taking a side and trying to build a case, right? Mm-hmm. I understand why Scientology will want to. They feel they don't want me out there telling the truth about their system. But when she takes up their side and is, like, again, building a case, right?
Well, here's another problem I have with it is that when she does this and you have these two other officers come up and run block for her, then it's no longer just one bad officer.
Yeah.
This is showing that crew that is working that event are, instead of worrying about following the law, following procedure, they're covering for each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a real problem.
That worries me. Some magazine, it was a science magazine, did a study on the one bad apple theory. And what they came up with is that you can't even afford to take the chance because that one bad apple infects everybody so fast that you'll never be able to stop it. They were saying that one bad apple, you can't even have one.
Well, and Sir Bill can tell us, I mean, your agency that you were with, just like every other agency, has had dark clouds or rumors or suspicion placed on it. And, how did that affect the way that the public looked at your department?
Yeah, and how did you feel about if it changed the way the public looks at you?
Anything that has bad optics, or if a deputy really does do something stupid, it gets on the internet, it gets on the news, then everybody just tends to throw all of us in the same basket. Right. They just automatically assume we're all dirty, which is not cool. Because most of the guys I work with were hard-working, fair, and decent people. Although we did have some problems, no doubt about that.
And I think there's problems in every space, but I don't think that everybody is a problem in the space.
Wait, Paul, I hate to give you pushback because everybody's doing so well, but I gotta say, there's still an argument left here. We can't clear police altogether because they signed up to do this thing. I expect my mechanic to know what a wrench is. You can expect certain things from someone who's joined the police officers. In that sense, you can't throw them all in the same basket. That's not the same as saying there's some brute who thinks it's okay to punch somebody. That's not saying they are all that. But I can make certain assumptions like you will, if they tell you, even if you morally think weed is okay, if they tell you to arrest a motherfucker or they have to do it, you're not going to stop them. You're going to do what you have to do.
But see,
That's
that's part of that oath is that you will enforce the law, and whether or not there's a chance it will become legal within the future, that doesn't make it legal at the time.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's the thing. I was one of those that if I caught somebody with a knot on them, or they had, a baggie or a roach or something like that, I made them destroy it.
I've met a bunch of cops like that. I've had cops just drop it on the ground, be like, "Have a nice day, gentlemen," knowing we're gonna pick it up when they leave.
I've let some people keep it. I didn't care.
But if I roll up on you and you got a brick on you, that's going to be a little bit different. But if it's just something because you just want to chill and you want to relax, and you knew who the people were that used it, I mean, it wasn't that hard. You work in the community long enough, you get to know everybody. But and I've literally run into people. I can't tell you how many times I had folks that you catch them with a knot on them, a little baggie on them, a roach, something like that. Okay, put it on the ground, step on it, scrunch it up, now kick it all away.
Right.
And the thing was, I didn't want to take them to jail for it. I thought it was ridiculous to have this.
Man, I'm glad you had an opinion.
And that was the thing. And you'd have folks that be like, "Oh man, you gonna make me do that?" Okay, well, do you know what you are? So, are you going to make me do my job like that? Or are you going to let me try to treat you like a human being, and you just deal with the fact you're going to have to go back to your supplier and get things taken care of that way?
Nice.
So that's, I let them make that decision. It's just like when I talk about writing traffic tickets. I hated writing traffic tickets.
That's just so evil to me, man. It is so crazy.
Well, it's not evil. I mean, when you have people out there that drive like idiots and they're putting other people in danger, and you pull them over, those, my
maybe
way
not the extreme catch. I mean, if some guy runs a red light or stop sign or something, I don't think it's your job to jump out from behind somewhere. Your back tire touched the yellow line. You owe me money. You were doing 6 miles over the speed limit. You owe me money. That's piracy. Those people are bad guys if you do that to people.
But see, that's also the misnomers that you hear a lot. Like I had someone actually say, my friend got written a ticket for doing 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. Well, let me see the ticket.
Yeah, I'd have put that all over the internet. Yeah, that's not a real thing.
Well, here's what happened. The officer pulled that person over for doing 15 miles an hour over the speed limit.
That's
what was trying to be a good person.
That's more logical.
Not jam them.
Nobody's that big an asshole. They gotta write you 1 mile over.
Yeah, I've never seen that. But what happened was this person looks on there and it says speed 1 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, and instantly it's the cop wrote me for 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. And that wasn't the case.
That's so good. I'm glad you shared that with me too, because I wouldn't have thought of that otherwise.
And that happens. It's like the folks that you have someone who's driving like an idiot. They're doing burnouts or something like that. They get pulled over. They get written a ticket for it, and then they go down the road into another city and get pulled over for doing the exact same thing. But now it's a matter of the police are harassing them.
Well, I'm on the side that he's a teenager. He's going to do burnouts. You do not mar his record. Do not give him tickets. Do not take his car. You were a teenager too. For that matter,
but it's also
if you catch a motherfucker with a beer, you don't get to give him a record. You do not.
But look at how many times teenagers have done that and officers have given them a break. They've done the same thing and end up killing somebody.
Yes, these things.
There has to be responsibilities of things. And my thing was always, if I pull you over I'm not going there with the standpoint of I'm writing you a ticket, because I believed in the FBI studies that showed that if you pulled someone over and advised them of their violation, they were less likely to commit that within 30 days. If you wrote them a ticket, they were likely to commit that same violation within the next 30 minutes.
I
My
didn't
thought
hear
on it
that.
was,
Never heard that.
yeah, that was an actual FBI study that
That's
came
dope.
out. I
That's
forget, it was
dope.
when I first started. But my thing was, I let you write your own ticket. If I come up and everything's good, you act like you understand you violated the law and you need to stop doing that, then I was fine with advising people. But if I walked up and you were just a straight up ass from the start,
Yeah.
and you refuse to accept anything, it was all my fault, police are harassing you, all that. Well, you know what? I'm going to give you a chance to go talk to the judge about that.
Here, let me
So,
ask you this, man. I'm going
mhm.
to make a statement here. Don't consider whether I actually believe it or not, but I'm going to make a statement. I want you to argue it. I assume you're going to argue it. I think the guy who tells me that I owe him money because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt is an evil so and so, and he's a thief. What do you say?
Well, you have to also take into account the fact that if when you look at the statistics of fatalities in motor vehicle accidents,
Yeah.
how the fatalities numbers have increasingly gone down since the implementation of forcing people to
Um,
wear the seatbelt
I'm
or
not
getting
sure that
a
that in itself is enough, because if you force people to stop smoking, fatalities would go way down. I think I have the right to a cheeseburger
but there's
and risk my life if I want.
there's a big difference between that and a motor vehicle. If you are driving a motor vehicle, you're not wearing your seatbelt, you get into an accident and you become unconscious, yet the vehicle continues to travel and it strikes other people. I've seen accidents where
You
someone got
can't.
knocked out and actually killed an entire family of people in a minivan.
Uh,
And
Sound
that
like you're taking a lot of people's rights away because of something that's very unlikely to happen. We can't go down that road, right?
but it's
Uh,
it's not unlikely to happen. It has happened. That's
it's
the point
unlike
of it.
okay, it will and has
There's
happened,
a big
but it
difference
does.
between unlikely and actually having happened.
Okay, I will give
So,
you that it has actually happened, but the percentage of that happened is so minuscule, we should not even consider taking people's rights away for that. If we go down that road, I can give you some minuscule example of why a person can't carry a gun because so and so, fell out and shot someone by mistake. So now we get to take everyone's
but see,
guns off of some
that's
small.
again putting the liability on the weapon instead of on the person. What you're doing is you're saying that the weapon itself is the evil thing, whereas
Okay,
in this, it's not a matter of if you have a firearm, it's going to end up unaliving someone.
all right.
What it is, it's the argument of it, because you're not wearing your seatbelt, you're less likely to also put your children in seatbelts or make your passengers wear seatbelts as well. You are putting their lives in danger. And
Whoa,
it,
whoa, 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 whoa! I am not. My
but
kids. You may have an argument, but
yeah,
because some passenger may be swayed by me under the Constitution, I got the right to sway a motherfucker, right?
well, no,
Uh,
by the way that the laws read, you as the driver of that vehicle are responsible for the occupants of your vehicle. A
uh,
driver's license is not a privilege.
but I
A
think
driver's
we're
license is a privilege. It's something that you must obtain from the state.
yeah.
And under the Constitution of the United States, every state has the right to enact and enforce their own laws.
We're not arguing whether the
Yeah.
law exists. I am saying the guy and the people who come up with that is like the same evil people who made slavery and Jim Crow. Those were the law and blah blah, but they were immoral. As is this one. The truth is, the only person whose life I'm risking is my own if I don't wear. That's 99% of the time. I'm risking my own life if I don't wear a seatbelt.
Well,
And
here's
it's
here.
not your job to stop me. I can jump out of a plane, skydive, or risk without a seatbelt if I so choose. Excuse me.
Well, the point of it is when those laws came into effect, no one went after them. No one brought the fight to it in enough way. When the government takes a right from you, you don't get that right back.
Agreed.
But the fact is that I, as a police officer, by my oath to office, by my I am morally
You have no
bound.
morals. You are a cop. I thought we determined that. Even if it's
No, we
immoral,
didn't.
slavery, if you're a cop,
I
you
just
got to
explained to
follow
you
it.
how my morals made me a better police officer.
Okay, all
I
right.
don't
Well,
believe in the fact that there are no morals in law enforcement. If you
all right. Well,
don't
let's
have
not say
morals as a
no
police
morals.
officer, you don't have empathy, you don't have compassion.
I agree,
You
and I
have to have
misspoke, and you are correct. Let's not
you
say no morals,
right.
but you,
But the
but
fact is that
if
sometimes
you think it's immoral, you have to
Mhm.
override your morals because the law tells you to. You must give over your morals to other people. Yeah.
No. The fact is whether or not I agree with a law or not
Yes.
does not dictate whether or not that law is valid. If that law
You
is
have to
valid
follow it as a
and the
cop.
Constitution says that the states have a right to enact laws unless they are deemed unconstitutional,
Can we
I
sidebar
have
this?
an obligation
This is just
constitutionally.
getting good, though. You have an obligation to follow that as a police officer. You
Yeah.
swore an oath that you would lock that person up.
But see, here's where the difference comes in, and this is why I disagree with you on the point of about like the speeding tickets or the seat belts.
Yeah.
That comes down to each and every officer and how they want to handle it. Me personally, I don't believe in being a revenue generator for my city. That's why I didn't like writing tickets.
You don't
I
believe
wrote
it
them
because
if
it's
I was
immoral.
well, no, it's not a matter of
You know it
morality.
is.
It's a matter of my job is to enforce the law. And if I
Immoral
by
laws.
no, but the fact is per that study from the FBI that showed, if I advise you, Joe, you can't be out there doing burnouts, doing donuts and going up on the sidewalk, tearing stuff up, potentially hitting people. Dude, you got to cut that out or go to a parking
Hey,
lot where there's
guys.
nobody at on a
Yeah,
closed
yeah, we
business.
could.
This is I
We
like the
could do
argument.
this forever. We
I
could.
like the
Well,
argument, but we're
that's the
starting to
thing
get
is-
people wondering what we're doing here. All right.
but I'm just saying I have the right
I'm
if
gonna
it's
come
not a
around,
felony
bro. We gonna hang.
whether or
I'm gonna
not I
come
arrest or
around,
not.
bro. We gonna
And
hang
that's
out.
the thing is that I have that as part of my duty is whether or not I am going to enforce that law. If it's not a felony or it's not something such as domestic violence that in the law itself says if conditions are met, you will arrest. I have the right to not arrest for that or not enforce. I have the right to advise you, give you a warning, and let you go on. But that doesn't mean that the next officer has to do the same thing. It's all going to come down to who each officer is and how they perceive how things should be.
I give
Some
you the last
officers,
word
they
on that
love
one.
writing tickets, and it's not a matter of getting money for the departments. It's a matter of every time that they stop someone and they write them a ticket, they believe that they're stopping someone from doing something that's dangerous to other people. So
No, no, God, no, don't know. There, girl.
yeah.
I want to give you the last word on that, Paul. You better jump in before.
All
I
right, come on,
Stop.
Paul. Let's
All right.
get rolling.
Thank you.
Uh,
All right. One thing so a civilian's about to interfere here. And so one of the things that I've been charged with or accused of the last 2 days with all the officers is I keep on getting in people's personal space. And this guy just gets in my personal space right in front of these officers. And I challenge him on, you think this is okay? The reason,
now, does this guy touch you or
He
he
does
just
not-
gets up close to you?
he does not touch me. He just gets up close to me, but very close to me, much close. So I'm telling you that had I done this at all during this festival, they would have
locked up.
given me bracelets, right?
Oh yeah.
And what I'm really pissed about right now is that this guy's doing this. He's doing it right in front of two officers, and I even asked them, "Is this the appropriate amount of distance?" And
What if
they
I
said,
did it to you? You asked on that. I remember this part. Yeah.
I am kind of loud, but I'm hardly deaf.
Look at that.
How tall are you, tough guy?
And it's why my voice is loud.
So here's a cute fella. How much proximity am I allowed?
Sure. Dad,
Can I get that close to you?
I'd rather you wouldn't.
But you're going to allow him to do it to me.
Hey, get away from
and I'm not going to say that's a broken law, but what is it? inequitable. They're not applying the law equally,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
In that situation.
And see, that's where this gets to be a problem, because how many times did they pull you to the side and have a private conversation with you about what is or is not legal? Or did they do it right there on the street in front of everybody else where they could just walk up and listen?
Very good.
That becomes a real issue to me.
I missed that, but you heard what he said, right? I totally missed that shit. They giving the Scientologists all the privacy in the world, finding a force field around them. They just talk your business wherever you were standing.
Hey, Paul, you missed a good opportunity to tell that man he had a bad case of dandruff.
Yes. I think that we're going to see him again, because we're going to figure out who I'm sure he's a private eye for Scientology.
Probably.
Oh, I agree.
Now, let's see. I'm kind of going through here. The next thing that's going to really happen here.
Let's get to the point where she actually starts coaching.
This is her. So a couple of things that are really bad right now. She is holding Scientology propaganda in her hands right now. So she's accepted an invitation to the Church of Scientology from this person. She's got her thumb up here because she's thinking, okay, what can we get this guy on? So they're going to start spitballing ideas here.
You can record. Everybody's recording. It's fine. It's not.
And see, I have a real problem. You don't have to pause it here, but I have a real problem. You don't have to pause it, but I have a real problem with the fact that she's got that over her mouth like this.
By the way,
so
we
you
pulled the
cannot
permit
see what
yesterday.
she's saying.
They realized they can't kick us off. It's a public event.
That's not the problem or the question here.
What is the problem?
Borderline of harassing somebody is the problem.
That's a threat, in my opinion.
Agreed. And
She should be penalized for that.
What did she say? I heard part of it, but it kind of broke up on my end.
she said, that's not the problem. What it is it's borderline harassment.
Borderline harassment isn't a law.
Correct.
I've
And I would say
never heard of a law
that
called
if it's borderline, then I'm on the right side. If it's harassment, great. If it looks
Harassment's
like
a civil issue, not a criminal issue.
right.
Very good, very good.
And I'm about to ask her why she's so. I'm going to tell you, I feel like she just raised her voice. She doesn't believe she raised her voice.
Explain to me how I harassed him. Do you want to look at 8 hours of video and show that I've done
Figure
it?
it out. I'm not mad at you. I didn't come to you.
Why are you raising your voice? Why are you raising your voice?
My voice. You just lowered your voice to make it sound like I was raising my voice.
Uh-huh.
I just figured you hear me.
Now see how she did that right there.
Tell me the crime.
She intentionally made it look like you were the problem there. You lowered your voice so it sounds like I'm being louder.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
dig it.
This is the person who's trying to twist the situation.
Very
where
observant,
she
bro.
sounds like she's the one who's in the right here.
Who's
But
the
she's the
cop
one
out
who started
there,
talking loud.
motherfucker? Who's the cop? Are you stealing my job, bro? Who's the cop out there?
Well, here's the thing. If we go back, and I'm sure if we look at everything that's going on there, you're going to see that your level of voice doesn't change throughout this.
But she
hers
makes
does.
it appear that way. I hear where you're going.
And maybe it sounds like you were talking lower than you were before because she became so loud she couldn't hear you.
Yeah. One of the other things that I liked about this exchange is she's about to say, well, I'm talking loud because you're far away from me. Well, one of the claims of Scientology was that I've been yelling at people. I was like, well, no, I'm just trying to talk to people so they can hear me, right? Just like you just told me.
Very good.
Yeah.
I didn't come up to you. I didn't tell you to leave. Nothing.
Yep.
I'm trying to have a conversation with him.
Excellent.
And you are following us. And he feels harassed and intimidated. So that's what we're going with right now.
Excellent.
All lawful.
Excellent.
So
So he's harassed and he feels intimidated with 3 officers.
This really pissed me off when she said, you're putting words in my mouth. I just recited the exact same 2 words you said to me.
He's
Harassment
feeling
and
harassed.
intimidation.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'm putting words in your mouth?
You know,
Let's also look at how his body posture is.
Yeah.
He is being very, how should I say it? He's acting,
Relaxed.
he's showing himself. If he's someone who is under threat or harassment,
Yeah, I can't tell.
why
Right.
is he? Why he seems like he's just chilling.
Yes.
So
For
like
the
Joe
next
said,
4
he seems
hours.
like a
So
lot.
I
Another good
continue to prep
observation.
us. Yeah, I'm going to continue to protest after this interaction.
Yeah.
He's going to be within 5 feet of me much of that time. Doesn't look to be intimidated, doesn't look to be threatened. He's going to use me as an example because they're going to do the e-meter. And he says, that guy over there, he's got, mocking your, he's got a reactive mind. So he knows that I'm not threatening to him, right? So again, it's just BS, this idea that, oh yeah, let's come up with, he's harassed and
that's how
intimidated.
professional victims work, is they are not in a place where they don't feel safe until they need it to look that way. And then they become victims.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing here. It's like, so he's the, both this officer and that person appear to be gaslighting. All right.
Yeah,
he has no problem sitting out there doing all these things because every officer to this point has said, no, you have no violation here. He is within his rights to do this. Now he's got this officer, and I honestly think that seems a little more confident than he did before. Before, it looked like he was almost pleading with the officers. So
yeah. And like when I saw the two of them when she was doing the whisper, he's trying to engage. So she keeps on saying, is it this, is it this, is it this, and he's trying to no, that, not that, not that, not that. It's like going down the, would you like one of these, would you like one of these, would you like one of these? That's the thing that he did to me, officer. That's the thing, right? Let me see here. Borderline harassing, officer says, speaking here, harassed, intimidated. This, sorry. So at this point, they've kind of finished up their stuff, and I've gone back and I wanted to get the police report. But I finally say, I want a sergeant.
okay.
We've gone through this for 2 days.
Sorry, what I've now frustrated because for the past 2 days I've been engaging with the cops, and they've said that I've been right every time, and the vast majority, all but one, have said I'm right. And I want a white shirt here because I just don't want to continue this stupid little rigmarole where she's trying to make a case against me.
Joe, do you know in the Chicago policy and procedure, if someone requests a supervisor on a scene like that, if they have something that says that they have to call for a supervisor?
Yes, I don't know which one it is, but they do have to call for a supervisor.
Okay.
Bears just scored, by the way.
Okay.
For that matter, most police departments now have it in their policy.
So I had already asked them if I can see the sergeant. No response,
Right.
which just it sucks, right?
Been there. I'm kind of glad they don't ID for you, because me and one of my buddies, he's a white guy, we were doing this thing. They never identified for me, and he would get more identified. We were starting to believe, is it just that simple? They identify for the white guy. At least all the white shirts identify for him, but no one would identify for me. So, maybe it's a selfish, but I'm glad that the guy is not identifying for you. I don't have to believe some racist bullshit.
It happens. That's the reality of society, is that you will have these things actually happen. It's not made up. When you literally go and you talk to an officer, and they refuse to identify to you, but you have someone who is Caucasian that comes up and asks the exact same thing. That's not conspiracy theory. That's not gaslight. That's actually happening. And it does happen. It's a reality.
Now, what's happening here is, so this is our, I'm going to say complainant, but again, I don't know if he created a complaint or not, but he's the one that engaged the police. This is the jackalope security guard from the day before. So that's
Mr. Chin Mask.
Yeah, Chin Mask. And he's had it out for me the whole time because he was pissed that I wouldn't, he tried to ID me. I didn't want to give him my name. He tried to push me up on the sidewalk. I wouldn't go up on the sidewalk, right? And so and I do think he's ex-cop. He at least is a gun holder, right, as a security officer. So is he now coaching?
Joe, do you know if security officers, what kind of authority they have there in Illinois?
Yes, they cannot put their hands, observe and report. They cannot put their hands on you.
same as here in Michigan.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things. If he's trying to demand identification from you, again, tell him kick rocks.
Especially in public. It shit only applies to the private property, any authority he has anyway. If he's out there on the street, blow me.
Yeah. Well, I think the festival could be different because they're allowed to employ their own security there, and it's considered, even though it's a public thing, they could still have security there. But he can't put his hands on you. He can't make you do anything.
And no fashion. Yes. Maybe in the same sense I could, if you were hurting someone, he could intervene the same way I could.
Well, and in most states, the laws are very specific on things like that. It has to be something under citizen's arrest.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up with the phone now?
So now at this point, so I think that she's calling back to headquarters. And when I say headquarters, whatever, supervisor, she's trying to say, hey, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And then the security guard's going to come up and say, what did you think about this? Did you think about this? So all we're really seeing here is what I'm going to say is collusion, or more furtherance of the idea that these two people are trying to drum up a story.
Who's the black dude? Is he a cop or security?
He's private security, and so I had run-ins with him yesterday, and
I saw, where's your permit? I when I told you I showed my girlfriend.
Yeah.
But he's keeping his chin safe from the coup.
Right, he will not get any virus on his chins. And then the next thing is Ott. Let's see here. Where is she at?
Right there, I think it's one right below that, says that we can get him on stalking, and that is a jailable offense.
Yeah, where did I? Okay. Oh, I see it there. Yep.
136, or right after that.
So, right. By the way, earlier, just before this, you're going to see him tap her on the shoulder, but it looks like they're like he's kind of, hey, buddy, type thing. And this again looks like two kids in the corner smoking pot or whatever, right? That two peas in a pod. Okay, what can we do next? But
it certainly looks
stalking
bad,
requires
yes.
a physical threat. I can teach you the law, officer.
Yeah, she's ignoring you completely now.
now, one of the things, I'm pretty sure that stalking has three elements. One is repetition, so you could never be a first-time stalker.
Right.
But the other one is that it has to be. I'm pretty sure that you have to make a physical threat of the person, and I don't mean that you have to strike them, but you have to make an imposing physical threat on them.
I think you're going into someone's intent at that point, right?
Okay.
And clearly, your intent is clear because you're there day after day yelling at the same damn table, same damn building. Your intent is clear. It would be hard to improve that your intent is stalking. That would be very difficult to improve.
Well, under the Illinois statute for it, I just pulled that up, and this is under Illinois compiled statutes.
Very good.
It says a person commits stalking when he or she knowingly engages in a course of conduct directed at a specific person, and he or she knows that this course of conduct would cause a reasonable person to, 1, fear for their safety or the safety of a third person, 2, suffer emotional distress. And I'm trying to get down through here, and it goes through all the different layers on that. But you're not going at a specific person. Your actions are towards a group that are out there, and you're not intentionally causing distress. You're literally using your First Amendment right to tell the truth.
Even better argument, yes. How am I stalking this person when I'm doing the same behavior to every motherfucker sitting at this table? And yes,
I'd like to make a quick observation too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Paul, her body language right now says a lot. Look how comfortable she is. She's even comfortable enough to have herself backed into a corner.
Yeah,
she's having like a friendly chat with this guy. That tells me that she's trusting him and she's become friendly with him.
He's comfortable too. He's not looking at her, nor is he looking at Paul. Right. He's comfortable too.
I almost get the feeling that they know each other. Honestly, that's the feeling I'm getting here, is that they know each other, and I'm not saying it in an inappropriate way. It's just that's the feeling I get. That's how, you're sitting there, you got your arm up on the wall, you got your hand on your hip, you're all comfortable with this person. That's somebody That's the feeling I get from that.
Yeah.
So, Lori Waldy, this is a very cool building. This is the old Dearborn train station. It's now defunct and it's a retail space, but this used to be a serviceable train station. Now all of these tracks have moved over to LaSalle Street, but it's a 1920s masonry building with plenty of beautiful, ornate architecture around it.
Yeah, we got a ton of those in Detroit, just these beautiful, immaculate old buildings, and it's a shame on how they're being treated nowadays.
Well, you got a gift with that. I watch you when you walk around, and you know everything about every neighborhood, this building. That rock got thrown by Billy when he was 12. And Jesus, God.
This is where Joe Cool got caught peeing in the alley.
Right? Yes, 72. Yeah, damn.
So now I'm going to go up and ask for an incident number.
Can I get your name and badge number and the incident number? OTTEN 7988 and the incident number?
She's right. She don't have to.
Why do you not have to give me the incident number?
She can give it to you. Officers often do.
That's bullshit.
Yes.
Well, she probably already has the incident number. I'll say that, but sometimes they don't have it until they actually.
I was going to say
in.
Most of them don't, but you can call on the radio. They'll know it immediately. They do it right there before you even leave the place. If they want to be helpful, if they truly don't have it, like you say, they call in and they must create one with the callers.
Yeah, there's a way for her to create an incident number or a report. Well, you have their incident number from the call for service. Then you have a report number. If you're asking for either one, she should be able to give it to you. Or if she doesn't have the report number handy, she could just say, "Give me a few minutes and I'll get it for you." That's all she has to say.
Walk over to the car, or it's on the computer in the car. They all walk over to the car and get it off and give it to you.
Now, remember, she didn't get called to the scene. She was assigned to the festival. She's been here all day long.
Okay.
One thing that maybe the audience doesn't remember, at the very beginning of the day, I walked up to the lieutenant there and I said, "I'm going to be protesting here today. Those people are going to keep on claiming that I've done something wrong. Please keep an eye over there to just see that I haven't been to do anything wrong." She was standing next to him when I said this. So she's, and the 3 times that they came over to the police and the police said, "Pound sand to the Scientologist," because I had every right to do what I was doing.
Right.
She was in earshot of that. So she knows precisely what I've been doing all day long. Right.
Yes.
And I've got it on video. She keeps on showing up in the background every time we go over and engage the cop.
It's ego at this point. Then
100%.
Style audit says that's Barnita Fife.
Nice.
I'm old enough to get that reference. Damn it.
When I went home, or on the way home, I saw another sergeant right outside of the Scientology building, and I stopped him and I said, "Sir, I got a question for you." And he made something that I'm going to go with. I buy that statement that if there was any personal information from the claimant on that, identifying it, I understand the safety factor there, but I still need to know something that says, because one thing is she's said before,
personal identifying and them giving it to you, or you getting it from filming or listening.
There would be personally identifying information on the document, and then I would get the document and therefore get the information. Get that.
Not by giving you the number. You mean by you seeing it? I'm messing.
Oh, because if I had the document number, then I can go and retrieve the document number, right? Or I can go retrieve the document, and that document might have.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, but that's why they have something called redaction.
Yeah.
So that someone isn't doxxed through the actual police report itself, like what happened to Miriam Francis when her actual police report with LA was released in full, and it had all of her personal information on it. We did it all the time. We would redact the personal information from certain reports.
They give us the CAD numbers on scene all the time, repeatedly.
Yep.
They don't. It's not a personal problem. Then the damn thing is public in the morning anyway. It's public record.
Boy, I could overhear all this.
But here's the real stupid part about that. About them trying to say, well, we can't do that because it's this personal information. If that actually goes to court, all that expectation of privacy is gone. That
Yes.
all comes out in court and becomes public record at that point. So
Yeah. Right.
when they say something like that, they're literally playing games with you because they
Yeah,
don't
they're
know.
just mad. She don't want to be helpful. That's why I say ask a white shirt. They usually take the time to be more helpful. As soon as I'm finished talking to this person, I'll get that number for you. They're more courteous.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, this is the 5th crime that I'm about to be accused of.
So you building the record.
Because now, what she said is the report has nothing to do with you. And what I've said to her is that
How?
I heard him call back to his office to figure out what my name was. And then you wrote down right after you heard what my name was. So do you want to really stand there and tell me that has nothing to do with me?
Public record again. Whatever the fuck she's writing down, that's public record too.
You've got to get a hold of that body cam video, man.
Well, there are a couple things I would do. I would FOIA for not only for the body cam video, but I would FOIA for her
Notes
copies
there.
of her notebook.
Yes, fuck yes.
And because that's a tool of her trade.
Joe, you got to get me in touch with Audit Them.
I know, right?
Okay.
We got some great video. Me and him did a lot while I was down there when I saw you. Me and him did a lot too. I haven't edited and put any of that together.
So when I told her that I just heard you say my name, I get the next crime, right? Or the next accusation.
Yeah, threat.
Yeah. By the way, I could overhear all the stalking and coaching you gave the person.
Eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping in public?
So I'll just add eavesdropping. And John had mentioned something last night that you have to be deceptive in order to be an eavesdropper. And I had both a body camera and a phone in their face, so she had to have known she was being recorded.
Surreptitiously, and it only applies to the public. Surreptitiously, he's right with whatever wording you just used, but surreptitiously is the exact wording, and it only applies to the police. It doesn't apply to the citizens. It's special Illinois eavesdrop law for those guys, public officials.
Well, here's something else. Also, you said you could hear it. You didn't say you could record it, because under the Illinois Bar Association, it says eavesdropping law makes it a crime to record a private conversation without the consent of all parties, with some exceptions.
Right. Well, we know
You're
it's
not
not
talking
private
about
out there.
actually recording it. You're talking about you could hear it.
Over here.
So
Well, no. You can. She's there in the public. That's not a private conversation.
Right.
In no way on the sidewalk at a fair. He's good to go.
well, what I'm saying is that under the law, it says recording. It says record. It doesn't say listen to.
Right.
So you saying
you.
you heard what they said, you're not saying you recorded it. You're just saying you heard it. And that's when she says eavesdropping.
Yep.
So that's another situation where you have an officer who is overlapping the boundaries of a law.
Escalating, man. She's escalating.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this lady, just so we're
Yeah, I
clear.
bet.
Oh, I think you.
Neither am I.
But you're just not admitting it.
I'm not impressed
Like,
with her
why
at all.
won't she give me the attention she gives the Scientologists?
Jealous.
Police officers are supposed to be fair and impartial.
Absolutely.
That's something that is part of their academy training. My department, they continually throughout the years drilled it into our heads. But
Well, it's like you said, and I've said it how many times. There's no such thing as disrupting the peace of a police officer.
Right. They can't be offended. Correct.
And this is a problem with officers who can't accept the fact that they're wrong about something.
Yeah.
They've got to step it up to the next level.
We
Will
call
you
it
say I'm
butthurt.
wrong? You know that you just committed a crime by telling me I'm wrong.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know telling you were a dumbass was against the law.
Right. I disagree with you, officer. The first thing they're gonna do is walk around your entire car, look for deflated tires, a cracked windshield, out of sticker. Immediately. If they feel like you're disrespectful, they're gonna try and hurt you. They think that's what the job is.
Well, Bill, have you ever heard this statement before? There's not a car on the road that doesn't have a violation on it.
Yep.
That's an actual thing that as police officers we're taught and we hear is that there is no vehicle on the road you can't find a violation on.
Yes,
And
or
so
or a driver you can't find not find a violation on while he's driving. It is impossible to drive somewhere and not uh,
Right.
break at least one law.
oh yeah, that's well, that's why they're called civil infractions and not criminal infractions when you're driving.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people be in jail for a lot of stupid stuff if they did it that way.
Yeah. I wish they'd keep it more civil.
So where do you ask for what are they doing right here?
So
He's on his phone.
Yeah, they're. I think they're trying to get my name, but at this point,
Right.
so this is Officer Tam, and I'm going to ask Officer Tam a question.
I feel confident that you're not going to answer this, but at any point today, have you seen me make any threatening gestures to anybody? And I know that you haven't seen me all day. At any point today, have you seen me make any threatening gestures? Thank you. I appreciate that, Officer Tam.
That's why
Thank
the
you.
relaxed body language. He's admitting, I know I don't feel threatened by you.
Well, they know you're not a threat. That's
Clearly. Yeah.
But I felt it was important to get him saying it
It was.
in contemporaneous time, so that then why isn't somebody talking to your buddy over here saying chill your jets, ma'am? Right?
That's what kills me, man. If he is like that, why aren't you over there telling him, hey, he's no threat? Why aren't you communicating that?
Well, somebody posted it on here. I forget who it was. I think it was Pete Anderson had posted it. Yeah. ChicagoReporter.com lists the officer as a 25-year veteran with 2 incidents of misconduct. If Officer Otten has 25 years on, I certainly doubt that Officer Tam has that much time on. So that would make Officer Otten a superior officer or a senior officer, and he may not want to buck the system on that.
Yeah, Chicago is serious about that. They will not buck. In fact, I talked to them a lot off camera, and immediately they throw their superiors under the bus to be like, Joe, you're going after the wrong people. It's not us, it's them. They will not go against them.
Yeah. There's not much else. What's happened is, I've now gotten frustrated and I've gotten worried, and I've called somebody who I really trust in situations like this, and I walked off, and Joe and I have a conversation. Most of the we had the conversation on the chat, but I kind of I needed him to chill my heartbeat down quite a bit. But just to say, wait, what do I do next here? Because this is ridiculous. That I'm worried at some degree that that they're going to try and come up with some charge, and I'm going to go away in bracelets pretty soon.
Yeah. Well, look what
but
they
also,
did today. Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Bill.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just saying, yeah, you're right, because look what they did to Nance. That was a straight up false arrest.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're emboldened.
Do their due diligence.
Agreed.
They're emboldened. They've done it before. They feel like they can do it again. That did nothing but embolden them.
Think about it when you're in a department that size. We're talking a police department that's bigger than medium-sized cities in a lot of areas.
Right.
So, I mean, you talk about they have the kind of numbers that they have and how easily it is to just disappear within the ranks of the department. This is the reality of some of these bigger departments. I mean, the smaller ones will have what they call the old boys network.
Right.
But the big ones, they have that ability of anonymity because of just the sheer numbers within the department.
Yes. And then that also helps them give you the runaround when you're trying to get something resolved or get a hold of somebody. They spin you everywhere across the city to different buildings and stuff. I think that it's their job to deter you and infuriate you.
I love that flyer, Paul.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So I love that I got the picture. So she's looking at me right now, and that's a Scientology flyer that's in her hand. So yes, there will be a lot of things going to the media, and I'm going to do a lot of videos with this as a thumbnail. And Kim Otten's going to get some press, right?
Funny.
But I kind of wanted to go through a couple of things here, and these were some of the things on advisement. But I think we learned some more things today, right? That because one of the things I'd asked several people on this panel, what is my actual complaint? Like, what do I go tell internal affairs about this?
Right.
And in addition to these, I think there's threats of arrest, right? Well, I wouldn't say threats of arrest, but I don't know if when she says it could be eavesdropping, it could be stalking, it could be harassing. That's not a threat of arrest, but that's a threat of a crime or an accusal of a crime or a false accusal of a crime. I don't know if that's complaint worthy.
I think the way you're thinking is in the right direction. The way I try to remember it is, don't come with a complaint, come with a claim. You must claim injury somewhere. Whenever that needs to be the threshold, because that's going to be the threshold if anything goes to court. Your complaint doesn't really matter. So you would have to translate that into violating my rights. Now you have a claim when you go make your complaint. It ain't just I'm upset. You actually need to be harmed or hurt in some ways, and you got to find a way to put that on paper.
I'm also very glad that you have the actual video footage of this and that you put it out live as it was happening, because it's hard to dispute these kinds of things, even if they snowball you and say, no, you can't have the body cam footage because it's part of an ongoing investigation. You have the footage that you have.
Right.
And it's actually at some point, it's going to force them to give you the body cam footage that they have. And I'm just real glad that you did this live, because it puts it all out there in the world of the internet, and they ain't no taking it down once it gets out there.
I was going to suggest, I mean, obviously put out whatever content you want online, but I was going to suggest on holding off and filing the actual complaint until you find out whether or not you can get a copy of that body cam video, because
you may find
it may add to your shit.
Yeah,
well, it's not just that, but like what John just said is, if she's under investigation because of your complaint, they can withhold that body cam video from you for a period of time until the
Very
investigation.
good. They will use it as an excuse. You're right.
Well, we're thinking about what happened in LA when Aaron Smith-Levin got arrested in LA, and that was another bad arrest in and of itself. But that was one of the things that they use, and LA apparently does this quite often. The minute they begin an investigation, they can shut the public completely off from it. FOIAs, all that stuff do not apply.
That's insane. That makes no sense. I was somewhere in Alamosa here in Colorado, where what they said was that we wanted to get the body cam, and unless there's an arrest, they won't give you the body cam. There happened to be an arrest that day, so we did get the cam, but they said if there's no arrest, no body cam. That was the first time I heard that fucking policy.
I would like to see how that holds up against scrutiny of
that's
the higher
crazy.
courts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, one of the things that I'm wondering about here is the gratuity, because as I'm looking at their policies and procedures, it talks about taking them as a condition for rendering of such service or as a condition of not performing sworn duties. And that that's where that might run into a roadblock on that, is because they particularly set up the rules and regulations to where that gratuity has to be directly linked to a promise of action or inaction on the part of the officer.
Right.
I think that clearly needs to be done away with, and it needs to just say you're not allowed to accept gifts or gratuities. There are certain things, like an 80-year-old woman who just made a tin of muffins or cupcakes and brings it up to the police department to give it to you. That's something that shouldn't even be considered, even looked at as a violation.
Right.
But when you're taking handouts from people like that and using that, that's clearly they're giving you something. All right. That has no evidential purpose whatsoever into what she's looking into. All right. She took that because she wanted that.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead. Yeah,
Paul. Another important thing too about having the body cam footage prior to filing the complaint is, depending on what's on that body cam footage, it may kick your complaint up several notches.
That's what I'm saying. May add to it.
Yeah, and if she was coaching, or leading him, trying to get him to say the magic words, so they can file charges on you. That, as I told you earlier, that's almost the same as planting evidence on somebody.
In some states, yeah, that's
Malicious.
illegal.
It's malicious. She's,
Yeah,
Well, let
if
me
she's
ask this.
coaching him and leading him, she's obviously trying to get you.
right.
So I haven't gone to the police yet, but I have gone to COPA. Do I need to kill the COPA investigation?
I don't think that. Go ahead.
COPA may just forward your complaint to the department. That's the problem. Sometimes those agencies will do that. So
I would see about basically suspending it for the time being to give you the ability to gather further evidence.
Okay.
yeah, patience will be important in this one, I think,
But
because
the big thing
of
is,
the value.
yeah, don't, that's one of the big things. Like when Aaron got arrested out there in LA, a lot of people were screaming about, I'm filing a complaint against the LAPD. I'm filing a complaint against this officer. And when I said, folks, let's calm down. Let's see how this goes. A lot of people got angry with me. And then Aaron came out and said, his attorney directly said, do not file that complaint. Let me get these FOIAs in. Well, it was too late. People had already filed dozens of complaints online with LAPD. So it locked everything down, and there was no way they were going to be able to FOIA the video evidence.
And then
or
that's
any
a
of the other stuff.
365. What's that? What is the amount of time?
364 days to complete their investigation, and they normally wait until the 364th day, and they release it at like the end of the day.
Right.
And then so the next available window for you is the 365th day, and they've already made their decision. From that point, you can't even go in and file an appeal on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Style says, don't forget, COPA are not necessarily impartial. I know what I talk about.
COPA
Yeah.
are the freaking worst. When they were made, the citizens were supposed to have all this power. At the 11th hour, the mayor, Beetlejuice, said there's one final condition I didn't tell you about. I get to appoint everybody at the top, and she appointed all her friends and ex-cops, and they don't have any teeth at all. COPA, to me, they're worthless. It's just like IA.
Okay. These are not good things.
It's just all about patience. That's
Right.
all.
You got to remember, it's not always about COPA or the way that the city handles it. What this is going to come down to is it going to be a matter of how the public handles the city on this, and whether or not there may be some kind of civil litigation that you may have to go into on this.
That's why I say think claim, not complaint. Think claim. Be thinking long term.
Yeah, and that's why it's important. That's why I was happy that Joe came on for this. All right, we can debate all day long, Joe and I. That's not going to be a problem. I actually enjoy the debates, but he knows what he's talking about, and he's not going to steer you in a way. From what I've seen, he's not going to steer you in a way that's going to harm you or the case that you have, and that's why I'm glad that we have Joe here on this.
One thing. So this is the fun. So I wanted to include in the report her little roll call room gunshot.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's 2 years. This happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
She's 23 years on the force when this happens.
Well, she's not a rook, that's for sure.
So
I'm surprised. Well, you didn't know it at the time. I mean, if I'd known it, I'd have been, hey, have you had any problems getting that gun belt on lately? So.
Somebody had asked the question. So I this as well. So let me just show one final thing. I know we're kind of going long in the tooth here on this.
It's all right.
Like I said, on my way home, I found a sergeant. It just so happened I was walking past Scientology so I could close their blinds again, and I found a sergeant.
Can I talk to you for a minute?
Let me back that up a little bit so you can see kind of how that.
Oh, I got a white shirt here. They're not going to open that again. Howdy. Excuse me, sir. Can I talk to you for a minute? Can I talk to you for a minute? Excuse me?
Everything okay?
Everything's okay. Yes. Can I talk to you for a minute? I had an interaction with an officer earlier today. They wouldn't give me an incident number in regards to what's going on, and I'm kind of told that if I try to talk to a sergeant, and I apologize, I don't know if you're a sergeant or lieutenant, but that I can get an incident number. I don't know why the officer took a report. They did take.
It was a police report. Something happened to you?
The claim was I committed some kind of crime.
So someone made a complaint on you?
Yes.
Okay. You have put in handcuffs or anything like that?
No.
Or
Nope.
No one arrested you?
Can you guys hear it?
Do you want to make a report?
I guess what I'd like to know is what the incident number is, because now I have to do the FOIA. I know who the officer is. The officer
Hey,
already has
pause,
several
pause.
complaints against them.
So a couple things.
First thing they do when they ask you, do you want to report it, so they can get info on you. They
Right.
want to know more about you. You did perfect there, and you stuck and you remembered, no, I'm just trying to get a claim number. I thought that was done well.
Let me also remind you, and I think we talked about this the other night, it is perfectly okay and legal for a police officer to lie to you. All right. They can do that in the course of doing their job. It has been upheld in court cases that an officer that is investigating an incident can lie to you, and that's okay.
Yep.
So just remember when you're going into a situation like that, and you can generally tell what the officer's up to very quickly, but just keep that in the back of your mind.
Gotcha. What we're going to, if this plays on, we're going to hear that he's going to kind of.
There might not have been an actual report number, which is
She did make a report. She just said she wouldn't give it to me, which again, I think that's very suspect. And I know that I'm not the complainant.
Because at any time there's an interaction with police, there's usually an event number that comes up.
That's what I said as well.
Right.
And she said she doesn't have to give it to me. And she didn't come up and approach me. She tried to coach one of these people into saying, hey, tell them he did this.
Uniformed officer?
A uniformed officer.
All right. You know the uniform?
Let me say right now, the reaction on this sergeant's face when I told him that, I said, a uniform officer did this? I said, yes. He just dropped. Like, I mean, you could tell he's like, fuck, right? Sorry.
You could hear it in his voice, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we're far enough into the stream on that. So, I'm going to say that, and I know every auditor hates when I say this, but at this point, I don't think there's a bad person in front of me.
I take it.
Obet 79, is it Odette? Female? Obet. Hey, folks, what's the number? Her badge number is 7988.
Okay.
And again,
So that's okay.
I know she was pissed because when the person, she was mad at me. When the person went over to talk to them, I wanted the conversation on tape. And there is no expectation of privacy in public. And she was mad and she said, I want to talk to this person. It's like, then you need to go someplace private, right? And I asked if I was detained. She said, nope. I said, am I free to go? Yep. Then am I free to stay? Yes.
Now, did the person who made a report know your information? Or do you think your
They do.
information was
They do. They did say my name, and I'm really mad at the officer because when I came back to her, I said, I need the report number, and she goes, it has nothing to do with you. And I said, if you have my name on the report, it has something to do with me.
So technically, so now, let's say you called me.
Right.
You're like, hey, this guy right there said, that guy's an asshole, whatever. And I'm like, you're
Oh,
the victim.
man.
You're the victim, right? So that's the bad guy. So I would do you the report number. I'm like, hey, here's your RD number, your event number, blah, blah, blah. This is your ticket to do is whatever you want. So
Right.
if you want them to place in custody, you want to like name him as an offender and get a summons and go for a judge or whatever. Usually because
The other side of that argument, or the other side of the complainant,
now,
right?
let's say I give him the RD number, he gets a report. Now all your information's on there.
Gotcha. So it's a
kind of-
privacy.
it's like- it's a
You're concerned about
safety kind of
privacy?
issue.
Okay.
So what you could do is you could go to 35th of Michigan, give them the time and date of what the event occurred.
Why can't I go to First District? Because I will say that in
Well,
the
First
state of
District-
Illinois, every
First
place
District
is
cannot-
supposed to. I know they're going to
Yeah.
tell me they
No,
don't.
It's because I don't think one is. Now they could do a PCAT and see when the incident happened, but your best bet is to go to 35th of Michigan.
Okay.
Or if you have some kind of an issue, like I said, you can go to like.
I'm gonna go to
Macon,
COPA as well, right.
You know that
And again,
train
yep.
location for that too, but it's almost like a safety issue.
I'll-
Now, what if they did?
He's working awful hard
They
to
did.
try to give you
You
reasons
know,
why they
that,
shouldn't
you
get
know
this.
that, but like I'm
I-
saying,
So here's what it is.
I don't see the report, so I don't know.
Agreed.
Because I'm coming from.
He's trying to
And you're
discourage
absolutely
him.
correct.
What?
He's trying his best to discourage you.
Gotcha.
That's common.
He's trying to safe point you.
Yeah, it happens
That's
a lot.
what he's doing. He's
unfortunately.
trying to handle you. So
Did I see my name on the paper? No. Here's what I saw. Hey, what's his name again? His name is such and such, and then she wrote something
You
down.
can assume that your name is someplace on the
Correct.
report. But because you are the subject, it could be the offender, the guy that they're not
That's
going to give
bullshit.
that
It's
report number because that
public,
person
yeah.
goes to 35th Commission
Right.
generates and they're going to
All
call
that
your
shit.
whole information. So like, let's say, hey, this guy called me an asshole, and I'm like, hey, I put but let's say you're willing to give me your home address and your cell number, and I put that in there. Now I give him the report number. He can get that at a later time. You don't want to make it so easy where they run to 35th Michigan, get all the information, the full police report. They have all your information now.
Yep.
It's a safety issue, kind of, sort of. You know what I'm saying?
Again, the safety issue that I'm a little bit upside down on this because.
Because it's almost like you had a case put on you.
Yep.
From your perspective, like I said,
Correct.
I wish I could have been here to like.
And again, it's a fraudulent case. So what they're gonna claim I stalked. And what I tried to explain to the officer, a stalk requires it's repetitive and it requires a threatening motion. I have never made a threatening motion.
Free incidents,
Right.
I think, too, for that as well.
But it has to be a threatening motion. So one thing I will tell you that I believe, again, you can't talk to me about the religious beliefs. I follow them around with their flyers, and I use.
I just want to pause right here for all the anti-Scientology people in the group. At this very moment, a woman walks out of Scientology with a bundle of flyers and sees me and turns right around and walks back in. And I just thought it was so wonderful that I'm giving this example as the officers right there.
Yeah.
My First Amendment rights to warn the people that they pass this out to, and I allow them their First Amendment right to pass them out. Like that woman right there, she'll always backcam me, but she approaches me. I never approach her.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like I said,
She's the one
best
that
of
is
luck.
it.
I would go to, you're going to eventually go to Copa.
Yep.
Instead of First District, I would go to the 35th Michigan, ask them if they get that RD based off of the time of this happened.
Cool.
Ain't
Hey,
that a
involved in
bitch?
that.
So officer number, badge number, and time, and maybe address.
You can present that to the 35th as well, too.
Okay.
And there should be able to.
And pause one
Like I
second.
said, with police, it's always about.
I don't get the privacy thing. If he's just all his advice is go get it from Copa. We have it, but go get it from Copa. Is the privacy a thing or not? If you're telling me to go get it from Copa instead of get it from you, it's the same piece of paper then.
That sergeant's argument about the report number is ridiculous because there's no safety issue with just simply giving you a report number.
Yes.
When it becomes a safety issue is if you go to get a copy of the report and the officer giving you the copy fails to redact private information. That's when it becomes a safety issue.
Yes.
So this sergeant's full of crap, in my opinion.
I think that if you'll notice when you talked about the fact that the officer said, I don't have to give you the report number and started going into different things, you'll notice the sergeant really tried playing off of that heavily and trying to back the officer's statement on that.
Yeah,
And
I dig it.
I go back to the statement of he really seems like he's trying to handle or safe point you on this one.
I would take it all the way even back. The very first thing out of his mouth was, her mouth, I'm sorry, was, I don't have to give it to you. Inherent in there is an admittance that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to give it to you. She's telling you that, yes, there is one.
Yeah,
I don't have to give it to you.
She's admitting it without admitting it.
Yes.
That's what she's doing.
Yeah.
It's literally like a Freudian slip. What
Yes,
happened
right?
there.
You just had to catch it, yes.
Yep. So this is very.
Let's try to get through it. I'm at 26%, so let's try and make sure we make it through this.
It's funny that all day long. So what happened is I went to the lieutenant when I first came to the organization today, and I said, listen, they're going to tell you that I do this. You can watch me all day long. You're never going to see it. I talked to the officer right next to this woman, and I said, at any point today, did you see me make any threatening actions? The officer said, no. And she still took the report. That seems problematic. By the way, he's on camera.
Did the officer see any kind of interaction with you?
Yeah. So they came over. They went to the officer 7 times during the day and said, hey, he's telling these people that we're Scientology. And it turns out you are Scientology.
Right. It's a slippery slope because you can come up to us and be like, hey, that guy over here.
I agreed.
Now I feel responsible, like I have to give you a report. You're a citizen of Chicago, you're asking me for help, I got to generate that report for you. Now, but I didn't see that incident. So that's how you gotta let things happen out in court and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Too.
And again, I will
as
say
long as
that
you're okay, you're not handcuffed.
we're fine. We're fine.
You're fine. Like I said,
So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
no worries. God
So-
bless.
And let's remember, a
you.
lot of departments
Uh,
have a policy or a rule in place that if someone wants a report, the officer takes a report. And Joe, do you know if that's a reality in Chicago or not?
I'm sorry, I was trying to set something up with my girl for later.
If you want a report and you approach a Chicago officer, do they have to take a report?
Everyone must take a report, yes.
So,
But they don't, and they won't, and they're gonna tell you they don't have their
well, they'll find a reason one way or another to get out of it. Sir
Yes.
Crepitus and I have talked about that many times. There are officers that will spend an entire day trying to get out of doing a report that takes them 5 minutes.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
For that
Yeah.
matter, they also have to. If I want to give a FOIA, I can give it to any person, and they're supposed to pass it on. I'm guarantee you they won't know that that rule exists.
And it's going to fall on the floor anyhow, right? So yeah, I'll take your request.
Yeah, fuck
Lost
it.
it.
After 30 minutes, fuck it. Yeah, I'll take the damn request. It's gonna fall on the floor.
Now,
Yeah,
one of the things that I wonder, and this, I know this isn't a COPA thing, but I'm going to say that I feel that there were civilians making false complaints against me today,
Yes.
on that day.
I love it.
How do I get? How do I? Is there an action that I can bring forward saying I was falsely accused of something?
Civil,
Technically,
unfortunately.
yes. Technically, civil, and again, you'd have to prove damages that you were hurt in some form or fashion. And I can tell you that is a long shot. I was in court with one of my buddies. He's fighting that where someone's, giving their, their opinion of how he harassed them and all of that type of shit. And even if it's outright, you said the person had a gun. Did he show it? Even if it's outright dangerous shit, they still don't get in trouble for it. So
And
a
then-
little lightweight shit, you almost stand no chance.
And here's the actual statute on it. It says filing a false police report occurs when a person knowingly makes a false statement to law enforcement officers concerning the commission of a crime, knowing the information is false. This kid believes you're breaking the law.
Well,
all right.
That was dope. That was dope. I get you, right? Like say some chick, she could say he threatened me. Some chick calls the police, he threatened me. She could believe that. Now it becomes murky according to that reading of the law right there.
Where you most of the time where you get someone on a false police report is you catch them in statements later after they made that report where they admit to knowing that it wasn't actually a crime. But this kid, he's playing both between Scientology and real world laws, and he's convinced in his own mind that you have committed a crime.
Right.
So, by the letter of the law, that honestly would not be filing a false police report. He honestly believed that you had violated
That is
the
why
law.
it gets so when you get into people's mind and intent, it gets so murky, and it helps the system because they can interpret things that's favorable to them, favorable to get them some money. Even though it's murky, that means I have more room for interpretation, and I get paid if I interpret it in favor of this person as opposed to that paid person.
So this particular instance, I get that, and then the other one, there was no outcome of it because yesterday what they claimed was that I put my camera in people's faces, which that's
I love it.
Empirically,
Subjective.
there's no way in the world that they can say I felt like he put his camera in their faces. It never happened, but they made that statement.
Like we were saying the other day, you had two different cameras going. You had a body camera and you had the camera in your hand. I think it was on a gimbal. So in either one of those, it's going to show whether or not you did that. And we also have to, again, like I said the other day, just because someone walks up to your camera doesn't mean you put it in their face.
Correct.
They put their face in your camera's view.
That'll be on the camera too. If they came to you, and when that person who got in your face, A little trick, try to remember, is when you pulled it away from you and showed him, show both of you, and most important, show your feet. That, and that was indisputable. Now you know how close that person got to you, even if
Okay.
it's just for a second. Show your feet and show the side view. Now you can see it picks up better on camera than us guessing how close he was. Look at you, shorty. How tall are you?
Yeah, it's crazy. But definitely we need to stay in touch on this. We need to know how this plays out for you, Paul, because this is something that number one, I suggest you don't back down, but take it with patience.
Right.
All right. If there's one thing you'll learn by working in the world of the government, nothing happens quickly unless it's something bad on you.
And Sun Tzu said the war is won in the planning room. It's not what happens afterwards. It's this planning stage is going to decide your victory.
Absolutely. You have to be methodical about how you handle this. Again, I advise that you get with an attorney, hopefully an organization that does it on a pro bono kind of thing for civil rights violations, things like that. But you need to have a plan in place, and you need to stick to that plan. It may not be you may get a bit antsy, you may get frustrated by it, but that's the system. And if you don't play by the system's rules, it will turn around and kick you right in the hind end every time.
What is your goal, Paul? What is the outcome that you want?
I'm going to say that I have two outcomes. The one outcome is I don't want the charge. I don't like right now that I'm looking over my shoulder waiting for them to serve
I
me.
think this is smart then. If that's your outcome, then I think, the public route that you're taking. No, I want to make sure that he didn't say it's a good thing so far. If that's the outcome you're looking for. What was the other thing?
The second one would be I do want the civil rights complaints against it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and I'm not going to pay anything.
I like
for
it. Very good. I'd have said that too. Yeah.
But I believe there should be pain for the transgress she made. Right.
Yes. They throw that around too much. I think every time you get there and a person tells you, you could be arrested for that. You could be arrested for trespassing. You could be arrested for being disorderly. Every time that is a threat of you taking me, stealing me away. In other words, kidnapping, or taking my money, taking my time, and putting me at risk, losing my job. These are threats, no matter how you look at it. When you threaten to arrest a motherfucker, even if it's for 3 days, he can lose his job.
Yep.
Hey, after the stream, Paul, backstage, I want to give you just one piece of advice, if you don't mind. But I'd rather do it backstage rather than.
I'll take it.
Out here.
All right.
Hey, Ted.
First off, Joe, it has been amazing having you here.
It's great, bro.
I really
Thank you very much.
enjoy the debate part of it between you and I.
I do too. I'm glad you do, and you're good faith, so I love it.
And that's the thing, is neither one of us take it personally. We're willing to listen. We're willing to be understanding and open to what each other has to say.
Yeah. In fact, I was gonna say I can come back. I'll sub you as soon as I get out here if I'm not. But I go around to a lot of different rooms, and I would love to, because of your style, you're not, you're good face. You believe your arguments, and you're polite. You're not rude and all of that shit. There are some rooms where I would love to have your point of view, right? Because some of us cherish that. When I leave here, I'm going to go into a room where it's all right-wing Trump fans, but they love the opposition. I'm going to go over there, and I would love for you to come in and.
I stay out of the politics stuff. I'll tell you that. I stay away from that stuff like it's plutonium.
Mostly mostly not politics. I'm not big on that shit either. But we do a lot of rights shit, and you seem to have a lot of opinions on that.
I believe in rights. I believe in the fact that people are given, that we have inalienable rights that we are born with.
Very good, under God.
And our Constitution gives us many of those rights, recognizes those rights, and
secures those
to be
rights.
Enforced.
Yes.
And that's the problem is that through bureaucracy and other implementations of the government, our rights get trampled every day. And I stand by the fact that I believe that every time we allow a right to be taken from us by the government, we will never get that right back.
Here's the way they do it. You said it first. You said, under God, I don't know if you phrase it that way, but you're saying we have certain inalienable rights, and the Constitution tries to protect those rights. But then man comes in and he tries to say that the only rights that you have are those in the Constitution. No, the Constitution says we recognize that there are rights, and among them are these, meaning there are others.
There's others.
They would argue with you that these are the only ones you have.
I would go further. When it comes to someone from the government, it's not a matter of you have these rights. The way that they look at it is, these are the rights I'm willing to let you have.
Oh, I'm letting you have these rights. That's disgusting.
That's the problem I have, especially with bureaucracy. And when you have people who are not elected into a position trying to dictate laws, trying to create laws or rules that become laws, that's where I have a real problem. Because you can hold the people you elect accountable by removing them from that office, but bureaucrats are almost impossible to get rid of.
Yeah, and they have that streak, the same streak that the cops have, where they will punish you if it has to be bury you in paperwork, send you over here, send you over there. They are the worst. You got to talk to Bob. He's not in. He's on vacation. It's endless when you get into the bureaucracy too.
Oh yeah, they know how to bury it in the paperwork. So, all right. Well, folks, I appreciate each and every one of you that have been here tonight. It is very important that we have these discussions. It's very important that we call out the people who are not doing the job or taking the oath that they made, taking it seriously. We have officers out there that are bad officers. We have officers that are great officers. But the fact is that you don't know until you encounter them one way or another how they are. But your biggest tool and your biggest asset that you have is knowing the laws, knowing your rights, knowing whether or not that officer is correct or not in what they are saying. That's why during this whole time, I kept pulling up, this is what Illinois law says. This is what Chicago PD rules and regulations say. Your knowledge is your greatest weapon when you fight a government that tries to overpower you. Never accept that you are just wrong. Everyone is fallible. I'm fallible. Everyone on this panel can be wrong, and we all are at some point in our life. Sometimes every day of our life, we're wrong. But you have to be empowered by knowledge.
Right.
And if you don't take the time to build your knowledge base, you leave yourself susceptible.
He's not lying to you. You got to learn that language. They speaking above and around you. You are better prepared if you learn their fucking language.
Absolutely. And that's why I have been a big proponent for years that laws need to change to where they have to be in common language, not in legal or lawyer speak.
Well said, right? Well said, right?
And tomorrow night, folks, if you'll come back and join me tomorrow night, Father Ben and the sisters will be back, and we're going to have our Wednesday night game night. We are going to have a great time with that. Oh, Joe, you got to come check that one out. You're going to love that stuff. But we have a great time with it. Folks, I appreciate each and every one of you. As always, I hope that you find this not only entertaining, but also informational, and it helps you to build your toolbox to where you have the tools that you need if you want to be a First Amendment auditor, a protester, or just how you approach everyday things in life. I want to see everyone come out on the other side unscathed. It doesn't always happen, but the better prepared that you are, the better you have your own armor to protect you against the things that will be thrown at you. And as always, folks, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.